Chapter 1902. This doppelganger did not return, but continued to roam the north region. He would visit all those who had participated in the Tilted Moon mystic world. Of course he would not battle every king. He only needed to defeat the top prodigies. He just needed to obtain their announcements. Not just the north region but the entire eastern wilderness, the great sage lands, the great sects, and Lin Xian would visit them. These people were not related to the saints. At most they would break through and reach the level of a candidate. Therefore Lin Xian was able to do it with ease. Soon his second doppelganger and third doppelganger left. Even his real body was preparing to go to the Gu clan. The Gu clan was a clan of the ancients. It was very large. However, Gu Santong was one of the top prodigies of the Gu clan's younger generation. Therefore it was very convenient to find him. At least Lin Xian would know where Gu Santong had appeared recently. This time Lin Xian did not send his doppelganger. He went himself. The North region, the North Pole. It was close to the northern plains. It was a world of ice and snow. Cold winds blew. Lin Xian had flown for several days. He used his maximum speed to gradually reach this place. He received news that Gu Santong had come to this land of ice to kill a demon king. Recently, there was a rumor that there was a very powerful ice demon wolf in this land of ice and snow. Moreover, it was an ice-type demon king. Its core happened to be the material that Gu Santong needed. Gu Santong had come after receiving the news. Therefore Lin Xian also came here to search. In front of him was a world of ice and snow. Thousands of miles were covered in ice and snow. It was covered in silver. Other than ice there was no other color. Therefore the presence of martial artists here was very conspicuous. Lin Xian did not use any armor, nor did he put up a defensive barrier. Instead he walked directly into the icy wind. Although it was a bit bone-piercing, it was a good way to cultivate the body. He would not let go of any opportunity to cultivate. Suddenly, there was an earth-shattering roar in front of him. Boom boom boom. This was the roar of a fiend king. It was extremely terrifying, and it produced an extremely terrifying scene. Amidst the roar, an avalanche occurred on the great snow mountain ahead. This was no ordinary ice. Instead it contained boundless ice energy. Even if a king realm cultivator was suppressed beneath it, just the coldness alone would be able to freeze him into an ice cube. That was why it was said to be incomparably terrifying. When ordinary kings encountered such a situation, they would turn around and run. Someone is fighting. Lin Xian was a little excited. He wanted to find someone right now. If there were people, then Gu Santong could be there. Therefore Lin Xian did not run away. Instead, he quickly flew towards the direction of the roar of the demonic beast. In front of him was a frigid snow lion. It was extremely tall, and its fur was as white as snow. It was pure and flawless. However, it wasn't cute at all. Instead, it was extremely ferocious. His entire body carried a monstrous murderous aura and emitted a terrifying cold aura. In this world of ice and snow, there were only ice-type demonic beasts, and the frigid snow lion was no exception. It waved its claws and endless cold wind blew, forming an ice storm. Opposite it were a few martial artists. They were all young men and women and were very powerful. One look and one could tell that they weren't ordinary kings. However, they were in trouble at this moment. The frigid snow lion waved its claws, and 3 huge ice tornadoes swept towards them. Around them and above them, snow collapsed. Even if they weren't ordinary kings, they didn't dare to get buried under the ice. Otherwise, they would never be able to get out. Fire Phoenix Godly Fist. One of them shouted angrily. Then a youth waved his fists and a red light filled the sky. A fiery phoenix, carrying a vast amount of heat, rushed into the sky. It spread its wings and a sea of fire spread, blocking the ice storm and the avalanche. Boom boom boom. However, these 10,000-year avalanches were extremely terrifying. Moreover, the King Realm cultivator was also very powerful. Therefore, the fire phoenix only lasted for a short while before being frozen. Then it was slapped into ice by the frigid snow lion. Run. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the young kings quickly fled in all directions. 3 of the youths escaped, but one of the girls was blocked by the wind. Even her body was covered in frost. Oh no! Sister, be careful. Get out of the way. Cries of alarm could be heard. Obviously, the youths were all worried about the girl. However, when the frigid snow lion saw this scene, it revealed a sinister expression. Then it opened its bloody mouth and spat out an icy ball of light. It swept towards the young girl. Oh! Seeing this scene, the youths roared crazily. Damn beast, how dare you hurt my sister? They were really crazy. The girl's situation was already very dangerous. Now, with the King Realm cultivator's terrifying attack, she probably wouldn't be able to get out. If she was suppressed by the 10,000-year snow, she would probably be frozen into ice immediately. The young girl's face was also filled with despair. She didn't expect to be attacked like this. A look of misery appeared on her delicate face. Was she going to die here? She had never thought that she was a genius of the family who had reached such a high level at such a young age. It could be said that her future was limitless. During this period, many young masters from large families had even come to propose marriage. However, she had rejected all of them, because she wanted to reach the peak of martial arts. But now, facing the frigid snow lion, she couldn't fight back at all. This made her feel a sense of despair and indignation. However, she had no other choice. In the next moment, she closed her eyes. 2 lines of tears appeared on her delicate face. There was no way to fight back. She might as well die gracefully. However, at this moment, a ray of light streaked across the void. It passed through the storm and snow and came to the young girl's side. Then, a strong arm pulled her and took her away from the place. Boom, boom, boom. The icy ball of light exploded at the original place, forming a terrifying energy. The wind whistled and the 10,000-year snow suppressed the entire sky. The entire space was directly shattered. Sister. The youths roared crazily. Because the ray of light was too fast, they didn't realize that someone had already rescued their sister. They now thought that the young girl was still buried in the snowstorm ahead. A damn beast. How dare you kill my sister? I'll fight it out with you. Angry roars came one after another. The youths were about to fight with their lives. At this moment, a voice came from behind them. Brother, I'm fine. Hearing this, the youths suddenly turned around. When they saw the young girl, they were extremely excited. But soon they were stunned. Chapter 1903. Soon they were stunned. They realized that there was an unfamiliar figure standing beside the young woman. To be honest, the young woman was also surprised. She thought that she was dead for sure because she was not strong enough to fight against such terrifying energy. She did not expect that someone would save her at the critical moment. Moreover, when she opened her eyes, she realized that the person who saved her was a young man who was about her age. He was young and handsome, and he was unusually strong and unfathomable. Because the other party was able to safely rescue her from such a dangerous energy, it was enough to show that the other party's skills far surpassed his. Therefore, when she saw the confused looks on her brothers' faces, she immediately said, "It was this young hero who saved me." So that was the case. The young men heaved a sigh of relief. Then they strode forward and cupped their fists in gratitude. "Thank you, young hero, for saving our lives. The Tian family is very grateful. I am Tian Fei. Thank you, young master." The young woman looked at Lin Xian gratefully. "It was nothing. You don't have to be so polite." Lin Xian nodded. He heard the sound of fighting earlier, so he came to see if it was Gu Santong. In the end, he realized that it was not Gu Santong but someone else. At that time, he saw that the girl was very dangerous, so he stepped in and saved her. "By the way, did you see any other cultivators nearby?" Lin Xian asked. Tian Fei said, "Although there are not many warriors in the frozen world, there are quite a few of them. Most of them are here to hunt demon beasts and collect heavenly treasures. But who are you looking for, young master?" "I'm looking for a disciple of the Gu family." Lin Xian did not say Gu Santong's name directly. After all, that would be too obvious. The Gu family? Which Gu family? Could it be the Gu family of the clan of the ancients? At this time, the other young men spoke, looking shocked. "That's right. It's the Gu family that you think it is." Lin Xian nodded. "I have a friend who is a disciple of the Gu family. I'm looking for him for some matters. Although we don't know which disciple of the Gu clan your friend is, we heard that an ice demon wolf was brought out from the ice plains. It's extremely terrifying. Even the heavenly geniuses of the Gu family have taken action." "Oh, then where are the ice demon wolves?" Lin Xian's mind stirred. "We don't know the exact location, but we just need to head north." "All right, thank you very much," Lin Xian said. Then he moved and prepared to leave. "Young master." Just as he was about to leave, Tian Fei called out again. "Is there anything else?" Lin Xian turned his head, somewhat puzzled. Tian Fei, on the other hand, blushed. She held the corner of her clothes and asked softly, "I still don't know young master's name." "Fei, will repay young master in the future. My name is Lin Xian." With that, Lin Xian's figure flashed and he left the place. Lin Xian, the young men were a little confused. They felt that this name was a little familiar, but they didn't know where they had heard it before. Tianfei, or even whispered to herself as if she was trying to remember this name in her heart. Little sister, don't tell me you've taken a fancy to him? No way. Hearing this, Tianfei's face turned even redder. It seems that little sister really has taken a fancy to him. But it's no wonder. After all, that kid is quite good looking and he's quite strong. Plus, he saved our little sister. It's very normal for our little sister to fall in love with him. Brother, don't make fun of me. Tianfei was very shy. Alright, let's go back. If you've really taken a fancy to that kid, I'll help you ask around. See which family he's from. With his strength and skills, there was no way he wouldn't be famous. Soon Tianfei and the rest left. On the other hand, Lin Xian didn't know about this. He once again used the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps and flew at full speed. More than one person had mentioned the Ice Demon Wolf to him. It seemed that Gu Santong was aiming for this Ice Demon Wolf. After flying for another 3 days, the surrounding ice became even thicker, turning into blue gales. Even Lin Xian had to put up a defense. Obviously, this place was extremely unusual. There might even be an ice-type spirit vein under the ground. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so cold. Moreover, there weren't many people who dared to come here. Those who could come here were definitely not weak. They were at least 6-star kings. However, 6-star kings only dared to come here. If they wanted to gain something here, ordinary 6-star kings wouldn't have any chance at all. Boom. At this moment, a low tremor suddenly came from the front. The ice under his feet also trembled slightly. There were even some small cracks on it. Someone's fighting. Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. This energy fluctuation was extremely terrifying. It seemed that it was definitely a battle between experts. Whoosh. His figure flashed again and he flew forward. The battle ahead was extremely intense. The sky was falling and the earth was cracking. Terrifying energy swept in all directions, causing the entire space to fall into an extremely dangerous state. If ordinary 6-star kings entered, they probably wouldn't be able to withstand the aftershocks. Over there, Lin Xian saw Ice Demon Wolf. It had blue wings on its back and was extremely huge. That Ice Demon Wolf was like an ancient demonic beast. It opened its bloody mouth and spat out balls of wind. Every attack easily tore through the void. As for his opponent, it was even stranger. He could only see a blurry figure appearing in all directions in the sky like a ghost. Every time he appeared, he would attack the Ice Demon Wolf from an extremely strange angle. However, the Ice Demon Wolf was too terrifying. A thick layer of ice blocked the attacks in the sky. Even if it was forced back, it wasn't fatal. Great Void Technique. It's someone from the Gu family. Lin Xian looked at the ghostly figure in front of him and was instantly overjoyed. Only the Gu family's Great Void Technique could have such a movement technique. Other than that, he had never seen anyone with such a ghostly figure. However, at this moment, the Ice Demon Wolf in front of him suddenly let out an angry roar. Then, an extremely powerful aura spread out from the Ice Demon Wolf's body and swept in all directions. Accompanying it was a huge ball of energy. With him as the center, it swept across the entire space. In an instant, the void shattered. The ghostly figure couldn't dodge and quickly retreated. This was because the entire space had been completely destroyed. After forcing the ghostly figure out, the Ice Demon Wolf's eyes were filled with intense killing intent. Then he raised his beast claws and clawed at that person. Boom. The terrifying beast claws covered the sky and covered the sun. It wanted to refine that ghostly figure. Whoosh. Chapter 1904. When he reappeared, he was already in a safe place. Brother Gu. Lin Xian let out a long howl and flew forward in a flash. The ghostly figure at the front wanted to attack again, but it stopped when it heard Lin Xian's voice. He looked behind him with a hint of surprise. Brother Lin, why are you here? Why are you here? The ghostly figure was Gu Santong. He was surprised to see Lin Xian. I have something to discuss with you. Lin Xian did not stand on ceremony. What could you possibly want from me? That's strange. Gu Santong was confused, but then he said, Brother Lin, let's get rid of this beast first, then we can talk. Alright. Lin Xian nodded, then looked forward and frowned. This Ice Demon Wolf is not ordinary. Its strength is close to that of an almighty. Yeah, that's what gives me a headache. If it was a 6-star Demon King, it would be easy. But now, it's close to that of a 7-star Demon King. Although I can use the Void Technique to dodge and fight with it, it's too difficult. However, it's too difficult to truly kill it. Why don't the two of us work together? Lin Xian looked forward and his eyes lit up. Let's work together and kill this beast. Great. Gu Santong smiled as well. He knew what Lin Xian was capable of. Lin Xian was definitely not weaker than him. He might even be stronger. With the two of them working together, they could definitely kill this ice demon wolf. Brr. Seeing that the two of them were about to attack, the ice demon wolf roared and its eyes were filled with ferocity. It was a terrifying existence that was close to becoming a 7-star demon king. A 7-star demon king was equivalent to an almighty human. In other words, its strength was close to that of an almighty. Two little kings dared to be so presumptuous in front of it? They were really courting death. In the next moment, the ice demon wolf roared and attacked. It wanted to smash the two humans who dared to disturb its rest into pieces. The terrifying blue wolf claw slapped forward. It was indestructible. It was like a blue iceberg falling rapidly in the air. Boom, boom. Not only that, but the blue wolf claw also released a frosty aura that froze the void. Even from afar, Lin Xian and Gu Santong felt a chill. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian and Lin Xian snorted coldly. Among them, Gu Santong's body flashed as he used the art of the void and disappeared into thin air. On the other hand, Lin Xian punched out. The terrifying black dragon fist of destruction violently surged forward. The huge black fist flew toward the sky with a vast power that could tear the world apart. Boom, boom. In the next moment, the black fist collided with the blue wolf claw, causing a shocking explosion of light. At the same time, Gu Santong appeared behind the ice demon wolf. The long saber in his hand quickly slashed down. The saber light flashed, splitting the violent wind in the sky. The terrifying saber chi directly landed on the ice demon wolf. Boom. The ice demon wolf was sent flying, and a huge crack appeared on the thick layer of ice on its body. Roar, roar, roar. This time the ice demon wolf was truly enraged. It spoke in human language and its cold voice echoed in the air. Damned ant-like humans, how dare you hurt me? This time I will tear you to pieces. It was extremely furious. As the demon king of this world, it was a force to be reckoned with. No one had ever dared to provoke it. Not to mention humans. But now, two human brats dared to attack it. This made it extremely angry. In the next moment, a terrifying aura came from its huge body. At the same time, the wind and snow in the sky started to blow, freezing the entire world. Around them, blue frost began to form, forming a terrifying demon king's domain. The aura was extremely powerful, as if it wanted to suppress the entire space. Lin Xian snorted coldly. You haven't become a 7-star demon king yet, and you want to be so arrogant in front of us? Today we will finish you off first. Gu Santong also snorted coldly. Both of them were the top prodigies of the younger generation. Even if the ice demon wolf was terrifying, they would not be afraid. Kill. In the next moment, Lin Xian and Gu Santong roared angrily and quickly attacked. Lin Xian pulled out the 9 swimming demonic sword and waved it. It turned into tens of thousands of dazzling sword rays. They formed a sword diagram in the air and shrouded the area in front of them. The void was torn apart in an instant. Terrifying cracks appeared one after another. The entire world was about to explode from the impact. On the other side, Gu Santong reached out his palm. On that pale palm, there was a mysterious power that spun rapidly. It was like a galaxy shining brightly. There was even a star-like existence in it. As it floated, it emitted the power of the stars. In the next moment, he slapped the stars in his palm forward. Terrifying energy whizzed and rushed towards the ice demon wolf. When the two of them worked together, their attack was extremely terrifying. It caused the entire world to change color. Their power turned into waves that swept in all directions. The entire world of ice and snow shook rapidly. Brr. On the other hand, the ice demon wolf roared angrily. Its iceberg-like body exploded with a powerful demon chi. The blue domain around it flashed and suddenly expanded in all directions, blocking all the attacks. Lowly humans, you are nothing in front of me. The ice demon wolf roared. On the other side, Lin Xian and Gu Santong frowned. They had to admit that this ice demon wolf was extremely powerful. Furthermore, as a demon king, his defensive power and violent strength were even more astonishing. It was definitely a terrifying demon beast. However, Lin Xian and Gu Santong's expressions were serious. They decided that they had to get rid of this demon king. Boom. Lin Xian took a step forward. Sword chi exploded from his body, forming a huge sword light that circled around him. Behind Gu Santong, the Milky Way of the 9 heavens hung down. Within it, countless stars floated. The two of them used their king domains and instantly exploded. Boom. The demonic sword in Lin Xian's hand turned into a black dragon that was hundreds of feet long. It was as heavy as a mountain as it slashed forward. Shocking sword chi shot into the sky. Nothing could stop this sword. Boom. The ice demon wolf's pupils shrank. It could naturally feel the terrifying power of this sword. In the next moment, it opened its bloody mouth and endless wind and snow gathered in front of it. It then formed a ball of ice and snow and spat it out quickly. Boom boom boom. This ball of ice and snow contained an unparalleled power that could kill any king below the almighty level. In the next moment, the ball of ice and snow and the black demonic sword collided. The mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Large patches of ice and snow cracked, forming black cracks. However, the ice demon wolf had underestimated this sword. Chapter 1905. However, the ice demon wolf had underestimated the sword. The terrifying demon sword, coupled with the power of the great dragon sword soul, seemed to have turned into a black dragon, entrenched in the void. The sword slashed down and quickly cut open the ice ball. Then the sword chi was like a giant dragon enveloping the ice demon wolf. Boom. The ice demon wolf was sent flying, and half of the ice in front of him shattered. This time a sword mark appeared on his body. Fresh blood flowed out, but it instantly turned into ice. Brr. Damned human, how dare you hurt me? I'm going to kill you. The ice demon wolf was furious. He did not expect a puny human to be able to injure him. It was unbelievable. However, at this moment he felt a sharp pain on his back. It turned out that Gu Santong had taken advantage of this opportunity to use the void technique and silently appeared behind the ice demon wolf. The nine heavens galaxy behind him carried the stars in the sky and turned into a silver waterfall, violently slashing forward. It directly hit the ice demon wolf's back. Immediately, a huge crack was torn open. Brr. The ice demon wolf roared crazily and attacked behind him. Wherever it passed, the void was quickly shattered. However, Gu Santong had already used the void technique and quickly dodged. He did not go far. Instead, he came to the other side of the ice demon wolf and directly used the great void technique, forming a spatial crack that quickly spread forward. Ka. Poof. The ice demon wolf was greatly threatened. Its body was torn apart by a strange force of space, and a terrifying wound appeared on its body. In an instant, many wounds appeared on its body. If it was not for the fact that the ice demon beast used the power of ice to seal its wounds, its injuries would have been even more serious. Damned humans, you've angered me. This time I'll definitely kill you. The ice demon wolf roared angrily. He was really angry. He did not expect these two humans to have such strength and be able to beat him to this extent. However, they were still far from being able to kill him. In the next moment, the ice demon wolf roared, and a strong demon chi spread out from its body. This time, the demon chi was so terrifying that it could almost tear the sky apart. The terrifying demon chi spread out, causing the entire world of ice and snow to go into a frenzy. Lin Xian waved his demonic sword and collided with the demonic aura. A huge explosion occurred in the sky and a sonorous sound rang out. The demonic chi was too terrifying. It was actually able to resist the Nine Serenity's demonic sword. One had to admit that this ice demonic wolf was definitely a formidable opponent. However, Lin Xian and Gu Santong were not to be trifled with. Both of them were top-tier geniuses, and their strength was even stronger. Thus, when the battle broke out, the ice demon wolf was gradually unable to hold on any longer. The ice demon wolf howled madly, but its heart was filled with shock. Because the combat strength of the two humans in front of him was too strong. It was terrified. One had to know that he was about to become a 7-star demon king. Among humans he was comparable to an almighty. Its strength was incomparably powerful, but when faced with two human youths, it was actually suppressed. This was absolutely unimaginable. However, it would not sit still and wait for its death. A hint of madness appeared in its blue demonic eyes. With a roar, a terrifying blue demonic chi gushed out like a tidal wave, sweeping out in all directions. Under this powerful aura, Lin Xian and Gu Santong had no choice but to retreat. As for the ice demon wolf, it howled into the sky. Above its huge mouth, countless demonic chi condensed into a blue ball of light. Unlike the previous attacks, the blue ball of light contained mysterious demonic runes, like the meridians of a human, exuding a terrifying aura. Not only that, but around the blue ball of ice, a gust of wind blew, forming a huge frost vortex. The terrifying power caused the entire void to tremble, as if it would split open at any time. Other than this terrifying demonic chi, there was also an extremely strong smell of blood. It was enough to make one's scalp tingle. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian and Gu Santong's expressions turned serious. They realized that this beast was about to go all out. The two of them snorted coldly and their combat strength increased again. Gu Santong's entire body floated, constantly shuttling between space and reality. As for Lin Xian, a battle armor appeared on his body, enveloping him. The terrifying blue ball of ice in front of them grew bigger and bigger like a blue sun. Boundless power fell, piercing through the void. At this moment, the blue ball of ice was like a ruler, suppressing the entire world of ice and snow. A terrifying aura filled the air. In the next moment, the blue ball of ice was shot out by the ice demon wolf, flying towards Lin Xian and Gu Santong. Boom boom boom. A huge crack appeared in the void as terrifying cracks spread out in all directions. Not only that, but those cracks were quickly covered by blue frost, freezing into ice cubes. Nothing could be avoided. The terrifying murderous intent and the powerful power of ice and snow spread towards Lin Xian and Gu Santong. This power was too terrifying. Even a true powerhouse would have to be careful. Lin Xian and Gu Santong did not dare to be careless. Gu Santong's body disappeared in an instant, completely blending into the void. On the other side, Lin Xian could use the Dragon Sword spiritual realm, and his entire body exuded a powerful aura. At this moment he was like a god of war, not retreating at all but charging forward instead. On the demon sword in his hand, a dragon-shaped sword shadow appeared, and the terrifying power caused the entire world to tremble. With a slash of the sword, all the windstorms were completely destroyed. The terrifying murderous intent in front of them was also blown away in an instant. The sky full of ice and snow quickly disappeared in this sword light. There was nothing that could block this sword. Boom boom boom. In the next moment, the demon sword and the blue ball of ice collided. The entire void was completely covered in energy, and there were crazy explosions. The terrifying murderous intent shot up to the sky. The entire space was annihilated, and at this moment, a huge earthquake occurred in the world of ice and snow. Countless cracks spread into the distance. Even the martial artists hunting in the distance felt this change and raised their heads to look into the distance. This collision was too terrifying and could definitely destroy everything. On Lin Xian's body, the black battle armor shone brightly, blocking most of the attacks. Not only that, but countless strands of sword chi also formed a divine shield in front of him, allowing him to safely retreat. But this energy was too violent, and Lin Xian was still affected. With a low roar, thousands of sword chi rushed out of his body, shattering all the energy. His body was surrounded by fine sword chi, forming the strongest defense, blocking all the energy attacks. On the other side, the ice demon wolf was also constantly retreating. This energy attack was a fatal threat to him. He was not as calm as Lin Xian, and the previous battle had injured him quite a bit. At this moment, coupled with the energy attack, the defense on his body was torn apart again. Chapter 1906. Damn it, how is this possible? He's just a puny human. How can he break my attack? The ice demon wolf's eyes glowed as he stared at Lin Xian. He was too shocked. His previous attack had been unleashed with all the demonic chi and blood in his body. It was enough to pose a threat to the Almighties. However, his opponent was able to block it. He could not believe it. Could this young man be a human mighty figure? His heart was filled with uncertainty. However, at this moment something strange happened. Just as he was frantically retreating, the void behind him trembled and a figure appeared. It was Gu Santong. At this moment, he was holding a golden dagger in his hand and exuding a terrifying aura. Then he waved his arm and a golden light pierced forward. Poof! This attack was too powerful. It directly tore apart the ice demon wolf's huge body. It almost split him in half. A terrifying crack appeared on the ice demon wolf's back. Its internal organs and bones were exposed. One of its wings fell to the ground. It was severely injured. Madness, endless madness. The ice demon wolf had never been injured like this before. In the next moment, he roared crazily and charged backward without caring about the consequences. However, Gu Santong's void technique was too mysterious. It was a divine ability left behind by the great emperor. Therefore he disappeared from his spot in an instant. The ice demon wolf missed and went berserk. The power of frost rushed out of his body trying to freeze and heal his wound. However, at this moment Lin Xian shouted coldly. His long sword surged and countless sword chi gathered in the air. It formed a terrifying giant sword and slashed downward. The giant sword flashed and carried dragon scales. It turned into a black dragon and descended from the sky, completely enveloping the ice demon wolf. Boom! Boom! A sword pierced the sky. When the sword light disappeared, the ice demon wolf's body was split in half. Its blood turned into a red river and flowed on the ice. The sword slashed a 10,000-meter-long crack in the ground. It was so deep that it seemed to be connected to hell. Lin Xian and Gu Santong joined forces and killed the powerful ice demon wolf. The huge corpse fell to the ground, emitting a pungent smell of blood. Lin Xian and Gu Santong, on the other hand, did not seem to mind at all. The two of them slowly descended and approached the area. With a wave of his hand, Gu Santong took the ice demon wolf's core and said, "This thing is useful to me. As for the rest, Brother Lin can choose for himself." "All right." Lin Xian didn't refuse. After all, the frost wolf was useful to him. The next moment he sat down cross-legged. With a flip of his palm, a blue ice crystal appeared in his hand. The ice crystals were sparkling and translucent like water droplets. They circulated with boundless radiance and emitted a cold aura. "This is?" Gu Santong kept the demon core and looked at Lin Xian's palm. He was extremely shocked by the appearance of these icy water droplets. That was because the frost energy emitted by the frost droplet was extremely terrifying. "What kind of ice is this?" Gu Santong was shocked. He did not expect Lin Xian to have such a treasure. Lin Xian did not answer. He was now fully activating the sea god's ice in his hand. Instantly, the sea god's ice vibrated rapidly, forming a boundless blue radiance that enveloped the frost wolf's corpse. The frost wolf was an ice-type demon king. It was extremely terrifying. Its cultivation was almost at the level of a 7-star demon king. It could be said that its entire body was a treasure. It was divided into 2 parts. One part was the frost wolf's core, which had already been given to Gu Santong. However, the remaining flesh and blood also contained an extremely terrifying icy aura. If it was completely refined, it would not lose to the core at all. It might even be stronger. What Lin Xian was doing now was to refine the entire corpse of the frost wolf, allowing the frost energy to flow into the sea god's ice. The sea god's ice was a legendary treasure. At this moment, it was madly absorbing the frost energy of the frost wolf. This process lasted for 2.5 days. The huge corpse of the frost wolf was completely refined. All the frost energy was channeled into the sea god's ice, and the sea god's ice emitted a blue radiance. It released an extremely terrifying frost energy. Its power was not any weaker than that of the frost wolf. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled into a smile when he sensed the energy. This was really an unexpected surprise. Originally, as his strength increased, the sea god's ice was not enough. Although the sea god's ice was powerful, Lin Xian had too little of it. But he did not expect that this time, when he came to find Gu Santong, he actually killed a powerful ice-type demon king and absorbed its energy. This caused the sea god's ice to evolve once again. The evolved sea god's ice was extremely powerful. It could even threaten powerful beings. It was definitely not useless. It would be a great help to Lin Xian in the future. Thinking of this, Lin Xian smiled happily. "Congratulations, Brother Lin. Your strength has increased greatly." Beside him, Gu Santong also smiled and said, "It is indeed an unexpected surprise." Lin Xian smiled and kept the sea god's ice. "By the way, why are you looking for me?" Gu Santong asked curiously. "There is indeed something I need to do." Lin Xian revealed his plan. The more Gu Santong listened, the more shocked he became. He naturally knew about the major events that had happened in the northern region recently. The Saint of All Beginnings was killed. Not only was the entire northern region shocked, but the entire eastern wilderness was shaken. Many people were guessing which heaven-defying force dared to kill the Saint of All Beginnings. However, they did not expect that all of this was done by Lin Xian. Even Gu Santong, as a genius of the clan of the ancients, was shocked to hear such news. "Brother Lin, I have to say, you are really crazy." Gu Santong did not know what to say. Even he did not dare to kill the Saint of All Beginnings. After all, the saint was the future master of the Holy Land. Also, doesn't the saint usually have a protector? And the Saint of All Beginnings also brought 2 powerful beings. How did you do it? This was also what he did not understand. To be able to fight against 3 powerful beings was definitely not something an ordinary force could do. Therefore, everyone's thoughts went astray and they all guessed that it was the top forces. However, they did not expect that Lin Xian had a heaven-defying formation that could directly teleport away powerful beings. There was such a formation. Gu Santong was shocked. As a disciple of the Gu family, he rarely heard of such a formation. He did not expect that Lin Xian had it. "So, you want to support Lu Mingyue and make her the new Saint of All Beginnings?" After the shock, Gu Santong began to digest the news. "Yes, but it is still very troublesome. We need to clear Lu Mingyue's name first. Of course, Brother Gu, you have to announce it. Chapter 1907. He had a good relationship with Lin Xian to begin with. Moreover, this matter was as easy as lifting a finger for him, so it didn't affect him much. What he was truly shocked about was that he couldn't see through Lin Xian at all. What kind of background did he have? He actually had such a terrifying idea and heaven-defying methods. Of course, everyone had their own secrets, so Gu Santong wouldn't casually ask. He only needed to maintain a good relationship with Lin Xian. With Gu Santong's help, Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. After all, Gu Santong was one of the top prodigies of the northern region. With his words, many people would definitely believe him. Lin Xian then left. However, Gu Santong didn't leave. He still needed to stay in this world of ice and snow for a while. After bidding farewell to Gu Santong, Lin Xian hurried back. At the same time, he received news that his 3 doppelgangers had also achieved good results. The disciples who had participated in the Oblique Moon Mystic World were all forced to issue such a notice. Very good. Lin Xian smiled. This plan seemed to be going smoothly. Next, they would leave the northern region and head towards the All Beginnings Holy Land. Of course, he still had to warn those from the Holy Land on the way. After returning to the northern region, Lin Xian entered the Black Earth and discovered that Lu Mingyue's injuries had mostly healed. At this moment, there was still some color on her face. The life force she had lost had also been replenished. However, she hadn't fully recovered. It seemed that she still needed some time. However, Lin Xian wasn't worried, because he could do the rest himself. Lu Mingyue only needed to recuperate before reaching the All Beginnings Holy Land. In the next few days, Lin Xian prepared to release the news. Sure enough, when Lin Xian released the news, the crowd was in an uproar when they learned that the geniuses of the top forces of the northern region had made a statement together, stating that Lu Mingyue had been framed. Lu Mingyue said she was framed? She was never captured by anyone, let alone become a maid. All of this was the scheme of the former saintess Jianghu. No way, there's actually such a thing? Why didn't I know about this before? Are you stupid? Jianghu used to be the saintess of all beginnings. Who dared to mess with her? But now Jianghu was still killed. The things she did were naturally exposed. Why do I feel that the water here is too deep? Since the saintess of all beginnings was killed, a new saintess must be chosen. But at this time Lu Mingyue's news was released again. Could it be that she is going to become the new saintess? It's very possible, so let's not talk about her being a maid anymore. Otherwise it won't end well in the future. Exclamations rang out one after another. The entire northern region was discussing this matter at this moment, because he was too surprised. However, some of the people from the major powers were frowning, because they realized that this was absolutely not a groundless rumor. It was very likely that Lu Mingyue would return to the All Beginnings Holy Land and become the saintess. Could it be that Jianghu's murder has something to do with Lu Mingyue? All kinds of guesses and rumors quickly spread. And in the northern region, the experts of the All Beginnings Holy Land went crazy after hearing this news. The cause of Jianghu's death was still unknown, but now Lu Mingyue was implicated. This caused them to have a headache. Moreover, the All Beginnings Holy Land was divided into several factions. One of them was Jianghu's faction. They firmly believed that Jianghu's murder was definitely related to Lu Mingyue. Therefore, they were frantically searching for Lu Mingyue, preparing to kill her. As for the other faction, they supported Lu Mingyue's theory. This was because Lu Mingyue had been captured and turned into a maid. Later on, she was kicked out of the Holy Land. Everything had happened too quickly and too suddenly. Their faction had yet to react. In fact, they hadn't even seen Lu Mingyue's figure from beginning to end. This caused them to feel incomparably sullen and angry. After all, Lu Mingyue was a genius that they had wholeheartedly nurtured. If Lu Mingyue could become the saintess, their faction's status in the Holy Land would definitely rise greatly. But they never imagined that Lu Mingyue would be defeated and Jianghu would become the saintess of the Holy Land. Because of this, their faction received a serious blow. But they never imagined that Jianghu would be killed and news of Lu Mingyue would spread once again. Moreover, the news was extremely favorable. Because of this, hope rose in their hearts. Regardless of whether this matter is related to Mingyue or not, we must find her, protect her, and safely escort her back to the Holy Land. An old man from this faction said in a deep voice. Light blossomed from his eyes, and his aura was incomparably powerful. This was an almighty expert. He had decided that he must support Lu Mingyue and make her the new saintess. The situation in the entire northern region changed. Moreover, this news rapidly spread to the eastern wasteland. Finally, the All Beginnings Holy Land also received this news. Then the entire Holy Land went into an uproar. Lu Mingyue's faction was naturally overjoyed. As for Zheng Xiu and the other geniuses, they remained silent. They even concealed their killing intent. After all, this was related to the competition for the new Saintess. Every faction wanted their own genius to become the Saintess. Therefore, the relationship between them had become extremely tense. The All Beginnings Holy Land was divided into 7 factions. They competed with each other. Previously, Zheng Xiu belonged to the 5th faction. As for Lu Mingyue, she belonged to the 7th faction. Now news of Lu Mingyue's death had spread. Apart from the 7th faction, who was wild with joy, the other 6 factions all had gloomy and cold expressions. Humph! That slut is actually still alive. Someone from the 3rd faction coldly snorted. An almighty expert from the 2nd faction issued an order to secretly search for Lu Mingyue and kill her. They absolutely could not allow her to return to participate in the Saintess selection. The people from the 5th faction gnashed their teeth in anger. Damn it! Zheng Xiu's death is definitely related to that slut. I must find her and bring her back. The other 6 factions all had murderous intentions toward Lu Mingyue. As for the people from the 7th faction, they naturally knew that the situation was extremely dangerous. They also dispatched a large number of experts in preparation to bring Lu Mingyue back. For a time, the All Beginnings Holy Land could be said to be locked in a fierce struggle. The first faction to arrive in the northern region was naturally the 5th faction, Zheng Xiu's faction. Their hatred for Lu Mingyue was even stronger. Moreover, they suspected that Zheng Xiu's death was definitely related to Lu Mingyue. They dispatched experts to the northern region to search for Lu Mingyue. Soon, they arrived in the northern region and met up with the cultivators from the All Beginnings Holy Land. Elder, we've already scouted the area. However, there's no news of that slut in the entire northern region. She either left or went into hiding. In short, we can't find her at all. Chapter 1908. An old woman with a head full of white hair said. She was leaning on a purple walking stick. Her entire body was stooped, but the aura emitted from her body made everyone gasp for breath. Next, the experts of the 5th bloodline began to lay down an array formation to search for Lu Mingyue's whereabouts. This array formation was very terrifying. As long as they had something that Lu Mingyue had once used, they would be able to lock onto her tracks through the array formation. They believed that as long as she was in the northern region, they would definitely be able to find her. Unfortunately, they were still a step too late. This was because Lin Xian had left with Lu Mingyue 3 days ago. Lin Xian had no reason to stay any longer. Moreover, he was also worried that those people would come to the northern region. Therefore he quickly left. He used Heavenly Dragon 8 steps and left the northern region at his fastest speed. Even if the people of the 5th bloodline of the All Beginnings Holy Land brought a powerful array formation, they still wouldn't be able to find them. Lin Xian headed south, preparing to rush to the All Beginnings Holy Land. Along the way, he would send out his clones to challenge and suppress the cultivators that had entered the Tilted Moon mystic world. After receiving their notice, Lin Xian didn't immediately spread it out. Instead, he waited until he arrived in another region before he spread the news. He wouldn't allow his enemies to capture his tracks. The people of the other 6 bloodlines didn't give up either. They laid down layers upon layers of restrictions in the southern region where the All Beginnings Holy Land was located. As long as they discovered any abnormalities, they would frantically hunt and kill. If one were to fly from the northern region to the southern region of the eastern wasteland, it would take more than 10 years. Therefore, Lin Xian paid a considerable price midway and directly opened a super transmission array to descend to the southern region. Firstly, he didn't have enough time. Secondly, the notice from those holy lands and unrivaled great powers was enough. The current Lu Mingyue definitely had the qualifications to become a saintess. As long as she could return to the All Beginnings Holy Land. Therefore, Lin Xian directly opened a super transmission array to arrive at the southern region. The southern region was different from the northern region. The northern region was mostly flat plains. There were even some snowy lands. As for the southern region, it was filled with birds, flowers, mountains and rivers. The scenery was luxuriant. There were even some places that were filled with endless mountain ranges that formed hundreds of thousands of mountains. There weren't any humans. Even adults didn't dare to rashly enter. Lin Xian frowned as he walked through the vast mountains. Then he slashed out a ray of sword qi and split a few big trees behind him. Behind the tree trunk, there was a purple demonic beast that had been split in half. After taking a few more steps, He waved his hand, and a terrifying energy smashed the poisonous bee beside him into a bloody mist. Previously, he had thought that the world of ice and snow in the northern region was somewhat troublesome. However, he did not expect that the southern region would be even more dangerous. This place was not like a world of ice and snow. The vast mountains were filled with poisonous insects and demonic beasts. Some of the venomous bugs were so venomous that they could easily kill kings. Therefore, Lin Xian had no choice but to use his methods to veil them one by one. After crossing over a dozen mountains, Lin Xian stopped in his tracks. This time he encountered a relatively powerful demon king. This demon king knew how to spit poison, and it wasn't just him. There was also a small group of demons. Therefore, Lin Xian directly launched a great battle. An earth-shattering battle unfolded, and the sound spread in all directions. All the mountains in the surrounding 1,000 miles were completely shattered. In the end, Lin Xian killed all the demonic beasts. The ground cracked and blood flowed like a river. However, Lin Xian's body was very clean, without a trace of blood. However, there were 4 powerful people 1,000 miles away from here. They were originally patrolling the surroundings to capture Lu Mingyue and her accomplices. However, suddenly they felt a violent vibration 1,000 miles away. Immediately they frowned. In the next moment, the 4 of them rose into the air and flew forward. In front, Lin Xian killed all the demonic beasts and took out all their cores. Just as he was about to leave, he frowned and looked into the distance. He felt that there were 4 powerful forces rushing over here at high speed. They were very fast. At first they were still far away, but in an instant they were nearby. The 4 of them, 2 men and 2 women, were wearing chaos armor. Their auras were monstrous and they were like gods of war. Their gazes were like lightning as they instantly locked onto Lin Xian. Speaking of which, when they first arrived here they were also extremely shocked. The destruction in the surroundings was too terrifying. It was beyond their expectations. However, they soon discovered the figure below. When they saw the figure below, they were stunned. Then, as if they had recalled something, a sinister expression appeared on their faces. "You are Lin Xian?" They took out a picture scroll and compared it. Then they sneered. "Brat, I didn't expect it to really be you. The heavens are helping me. Humph, you are quite cunning. My holy land sent a large number of experts to the northern region. I didn't expect you to run over to the southern region. But so what? The southern region is the territory of my all beginnings holy land. There is an inescapable net here waiting for you to arrive. Now it is time for you to die." The 4 of them sneered, their bodies emitting terrifying killing intent. Lin Xian furrowed his brows. He asked in a deep voice, "People from the All Beginnings Holy Land?" To be honest, he didn't expect the All Beginnings Holy Land to set up so many defenses. There were even people patrolling this uninhabited mountain. He sent out his soul and discovered that there were only these 4 people within a radius of several thousand miles, or even 10,000 miles. The corners of his mouth rose into a sneer. "Just the 4 of you? Yet you dare to boast in front of me?" Seeing Lin Xian's disdainful smile, the 4 people's faces turned gloomy. "Brat, what do you have to be so arrogant about? That's right. Don't think that you are invincible just because you caught that slut Lu Mingyue. Let me tell you, the 4 of us joining hands is beyond your imagination. Hurry up and kneel down. Tell us about that slut Lu Mingyue. Perhaps if we are in a good mood, we can leave you with an intact corpse. Otherwise, if you offend us, you will definitely die without a burial ground." The 4 people were incomparably arrogant. They stood in 4 different directions, firmly locking onto Lin Xian. "Brat, are you going to obediently surrender or are you going to wait for us to attack? I advise you to see the situation clearly. There are some people you cannot provoke." "How ignorant." Lin Xian sneered in disdain. "It seems that the 4 of you are just holed up in the southern region. You don't know anything about the northern region. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so arrogant in front of me right now." "Northern region? What happened in the northern region?" The 4 people frowned. Seeing Lin Xian's fearless expression, the 4 of them became vigilant. They spread out their soul power and probed their surroundings, preventing anyone from secretly attacking them. After surveying their surroundings, they discovered that besides Lin Xian, there were no other experts around. Chapter 1909. Then they sneered. "No matter what happens in the North region, you can't scare us. Besides, there are so many big things happening in the North region. Could it be that you did it? Don't be ridiculous. With your strength, can you do something so earth-shattering?" The 4 of them sneered and shook their heads. They were not moved at all. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Lin Xian's face also darkened, and a cold murderous intent appeared in his eyes. Since he had encountered them, he would not be soft-hearted. Seeing that the other party dared to attack the four of them, the four sacred land martial artists in the chaotic armor immediately snorted. A terrifying murderous intent appeared in their eyes, and it turned into a solid saber light that swept forward. Kid, kneel down. At the same time, a blue-haired youth shouted coldly and waved his hand. A terrifying palm of light appeared in the sky and slammed forward. This palm covered the sky and was like a mountain that wanted to suppress Lin Xian. Lin Xian's expression was calm. He waved his fist, and a terrifying black aura of destruction pierced through heaven and earth. His fists turned into a pair of true dragons that charged forward. Boom! The huge light shield was shattered by the black dragon. Then, the blue-haired youth screamed and held his arm as he frantically retreated. "Want to leave? It's too late." Lin Xian took a step forward and reached the side of the blue-haired young man in an instant. Then he raised his leg and kicked the blue-haired young man in half like a heavenly blade. Explode. Blood splattered and a corpse flew. A powerful sacred land martial artist was killed in an instant. What? This is impossible. The remaining 3 sacred land martial artists were all dumbfounded. They looked at this scene in disbelief. One had to know that the blue-haired youth was a 6-star king. He was definitely a powerful existence, but now he could not even block one move in the hands of the other party. He was killed as if he was cutting grass. This huge contrast was simply unacceptable to them. This was impossible. This was not real. How could this kid have such powerful strength? They were really crazy. This time they received the order of the Sacred Land's 5th bloodline to look for Lu Mingyue. Because it was rumored that Lin Xian had captured Lu Mingyue, this time Lin Xian naturally became their target. They were not familiar with Lin Xian, nor did they know that Lin Xian was the real master who killed the Saint of all beginnings. Therefore their impression of him was still in the Crescent mystic world. They thought that the other party was just a small 4-star king. But now it seemed that they were very wrong. The other party's strength was really too terrifying. He had killed a 6-star king realm expert with a wave of his hand. This kind of strength was comparable to a saint. However, if they were to run now, their pride wouldn't be able to take it. So in the next moment, the 3 people. "Let's attack together and kill him." "I don't believe it. This kid can block all of our attacks." "That's right. Senior brother must have been careless just now. He didn't use his full strength, so he was killed. Let's use our full strength. I believe this kid will definitely die." 3 angry roars sounded, and then 3 terrifying attacks directly appeared. One of the women waved her arm, and a large green umbrella appeared, covering the sky. It was an Earth-grade treasure, and it bloomed with tens of thousands of bright lights in the air, turning into green blades. Like a rain of blades, it quickly slashed in all directions. At the same time, the other 2 people also attacked. One of the young men quickly waved his fist, and a vast aura appeared on his body. At the same time, a black tortoise appeared on his fist, and it was extremely terrifying, crushing the void. Boom. The black tortoise shadow seemed to be real, shaking the sky and quickly pressed down on Lin Xian. On the other side, a flying sword shone with divine light, like a divine rainbow, and quickly slashed down. The 3 of them had hideous smiles on their faces, and a terrifying aura surged in the air. They believed that the 3 of them could definitely kill the other party together. Facing the terrifying attacks of the 3 people, Lin Xian was nervous. A blue cyclone appeared on his palm, blooming with terrifying cold air. Bang! He slapped out and a terrifying icy aura erupted. The blue light that filled the sky froze the black tortoise into a huge ice block. Not only that, the green blades that filled the sky and the red flying sword were all frozen at this moment. What a terrifying power of ice. Damn it, how is this possible? How can he be so powerful? What kind of ice is this? How can it freeze my black tortoise? The 3 of them exclaimed, and their faces were full of horror. This was not what they had expected. In their opinion, the 3 of them were extremely terrifying, and they could definitely kill the other party. Even if they could not kill the other party, they could seriously injure him. But now they realized that they were very wrong. The other party looked calm, and with a wave of his arm, he dealt with the 3 of their attacks. They could not believe it. The other party definitely had the combat strength of a saint, or else he would not have been able to break through their attacks so easily. Thinking of this, their faces were filled with despair, and then they screamed crazily, "Run, split up, don't let him catch up." In the next moment, the 3 of them did not hesitate, and a powerful force erupted from their bodies, and they fled in 3 directions. Trying to escape? Looking at the 3 of them running away, Lin Xian sneered. He waved his hand and 3 blue cold winds whizzed forward. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The cold wind was biting cold, and wherever it passed, everything froze. Crack crack crack. The 3 of them had just moved when they were enveloped by the cold wind. Then their bodies came into contact with a thick layer of frost. They struggled crazily, but it was completely useless. This was the evolved sea god ice, and it was extremely terrifying. Could even threaten mighty figures. Not to mention the 3 6-star kings. In an instant, the 3 of them turned into ice sculptures. Then Lin Xian's arm shook gently, and they turned into countless ice cubes and scattered on the ground. After dealing with the 4 of them, Lin Xian's expression did not change at all. However, his mind was racing because he had learned from the 4 of them that the entire southern region had been sealed by the Wuxia sacred land. If he was not careful, he might be discovered again. However, if he did not show up, Lu Mingyue's people would not be able to find him. Then he would not be able to bring Lu Mingyue safely into the Wuxia sacred land. This was truly a troublesome matter. After Lu Mingyue learned of this, her expression turned grave. She said gravely, "Our Wuxia sacred land is divided into 7 branches. I'm from the 7th branch. Presumably, apart from our branch, the other 6 branches all want to kill me. After all, they did not want to have another competitor. 6 branches. That's practically equivalent to the entire Wuxia sacred land." Lin Xian's expression turned grave. The dark red dragon sighed. "Fuck. If I fully recovered and reached the level of a mighty figure, would I still need to be afraid of this? I'll just charge in." Chapter 1910. However, he didn't know any almighty experts. However, he thought of something else, the Black Earth ship. If he could reactivate the Black Earth ship, even almighties wouldn't be able to break through its defenses. After all, it was something left behind by an unrivaled king. However, ever since he came to the eastern wasteland from the Martial Heaven continent, the Black Earth ship's energy had been used up. If he wanted to activate it again, he would need a powerful energy source. However, it wasn't impossible. With Lin Xian's current strength, it was completely possible for him to obtain energy. Furthermore, he didn't need to fully activate it. He only needed to summon it when he was in danger, and they could enter it to avoid attacks. This way, the energy required wouldn't be too heaven-defying. At the very least, Lin Xian could still gather energy. Currently, this was the only way to contend against those almighties. However, ordinary energy sources wouldn't work. The reason he could use the heavenly Netherbird's corpse to burn the Black Earth ship was because the Black Earth ship still had some energy left. Back then, he had only activated the Black Earth ship. Now, the Black Earth ship was completely out of energy. Thus, he had to find an energy source that far surpassed the heavenly Netherbirds. Only then could he reactivate it. There were 2 methods. The first was to kill 7-star king-level demonic beasts in the 100,000 Great Mountains and burn their corpses as energy. 7-star demonic beast kings were equivalent to almighties. Furthermore, they were even harder to kill than human almighties. After all, the demonic beast's physique was extremely strong, and its vitality was also incomparably tenacious. On top of that, it had a ferocious and violent demonic aura. Their demonic chi was even more ferocious than almighties in the same realm. Although Lin Xian's strength had increased greatly and he could contend against almighties, killing such a demonic beast would still be difficult. Even if he succeeded, he would be heavily injured. Right now, he was in the territory of the All Beginnings Holy Land. If those experts discovered him and he was heavily injured, the situation would be very bad. There was also a second method, which was stone gambling. Not only did he have the martial Dao Heavenly Eye, but he also had the Heavenly Secret Divine ability. Thus, his attainments in ocular techniques were extremely terrifying. Thus, as long as he swept his eyes over the place, he wouldn't miss out on any heavenly treasures. This method. It was the most reliable method. Lin Xian decided to give it a try. As long as he had 2 or 3 divine crystals as energy sources, he could activate the Black Earth ship. At that time, he would even be able to face the All Beginnings Holy Land head-on. "Alright, Mingyue, you can continue recovering here. Ruffian Long, don't come out. Just stay inside and study the formation. I'll change my appearance and aura. I'll take a stroll around the gambling market in the southern region and see if I can get a few divine crystals." The southern domain was vast and filled with outstanding people. Moreover, there was a stone gambling event that was going to be held in the southern region. Lin Xian's lips curled up when he heard the news. He didn't expect things to be so coincidental. Originally, he wanted to go to Cloud City to find a few big stone gambling clubs and go in to have some fun, but he didn't expect that there would be a stone gambling convention. He would not miss such a grand event. The stone gambling meet was held in the southern region, but it involved all the forces in the eastern wilderness. Although the news that the Saintess of all beginnings had been killed had caused a lot of commotion recently. However, this did not stop these people from coming to gamble on stones. After all, stone gambling had been popular for a long time and had been passed down since ancient times. These stones had extraordinary origins. They could even cut divine crystals and natural treasures. Could be said that they were very magical. If they could cut out one of them, they would definitely make a fortune. Moreover, there were many legends in the eastern wilderness that said someone had cut out a divine crystal and made a fortune overnight. Therefore, many people were tempted and had been looking forward to it for a long time. As soon as the news of the stone gambling convention spread, martial artists from all over the world rushed to Nanyu. Lin Xian went to a nearby city to inquire about the news. He learned that the stone gambling convention would be held in more than 10 days. It would be held near the Dragon Transformation Pool in the southern region. At that time, there would be several great sage lands and remote antiquity families to maintain order. This was to prevent people from causing trouble. However, there was one thing that made Lin Xian frown. Although the stone gambling convention was famous, it required an invitation. In other words, not everyone could enter. He heard that if one didn't have an invitation, he could enter with someone who had an invitation. The owner of an invitation could bring 2 people in. Where could he get an invitation or find someone who had an invitation? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and began to think of a solution. He had the Black Earth, so even a mighty figure couldn't detect the people inside the Black Earth. Could be said that Lu Mingyue was very safe. However, the dark red divine dragon was clamoring to see it. In other words, he had to get 2 places. It seemed that he had to get an invitation. Boom. Just as Lin Xian was thinking of a solution, a surge of energy suddenly exploded on the street outside and swept in all directions. Lin Xian immediately opened the window and looked outside. The other warriors also poked their heads out one after another, discussing animatedly. What happened? Why did someone attack at this time? Lin Xian also looked outside and saw that there were violent energy ripples on the streets outside. 3 of the martial artists were directly sent flying. Opposite them stood an old man in a black robe. He carried a big black umbrella on his back that was shining with a cold light. Aren't they from the Golden Sunset sect? Why did someone provoke them? The crowd looked at the 3 martial artists who were vomiting blood and were shocked. The Golden Sunset sect was a large sect in the eastern wilderness. The 3 disciples were from the Golden Sunset sect. However, they didn't expect that someone would dare to attack them. Sure enough, the 3 cultivators on the street below also looked to the front and spoke with gloomy and cold expressions. How dare you attack us? Do you know that we're from the Golden Sunset sect? Old man, cut off your hands and kowtow to apologize. Otherwise, when our elders come, you'll be dead. They were indeed from the Golden Sunset sect and had come to participate in the stone gambling convention. However, they were too excited and had gone ahead first. They didn't expect that someone would find trouble with them here. You 3 brats, you're too arrogant. Even if your elders see me, they won't dare to be so presumptuous. Opposite them, the old man in black grinned and revealed a sinister smile. Now, give me your invitations obediently. I'm in a good mood and can spare your lives. Otherwise, I'll make sure you die without a burial place. You're courting death. You think you can get an invitation from us? The martial artist from the Golden Sunset sect sneered. Look at you. You must be a rogue martial artist. You don't even have an invitation. How dare you cause trouble here? Provoking the Golden Sunset sect is the biggest mistake you've made in your life. Chapter 1911. The 3 Golden Sunset sect martial artists roared, and then a majestic power surged in all directions. The terrifying aura, accompanied by rolling thunder, shrouded the front. Damn old things, go to hell. The 3 of them sneered. Boom, boom, boom. They quickly waved their fists, and a golden light turned into a terrifying golden flood dragon that soared into the sky. Every flood dragon phantom seemed to be cast in gold and carried a powerful force. What a terrifying power. The 3 Golden Sunset sect martial artists were definitely experts. The surrounding martial artists were shocked when they saw this scene. However, the black-clothed old man sneered disdainfully. The next moment he pulled out the big black umbrella behind him. The big black umbrella was as tall as a person. It was incomparably black, and there were dark blue lines engraved on it that flickered like stars. The big black umbrella opened and stood in the sky, as heavy as a mountain, and a majestic pressure shrouded the front. The terrifying power made people tremble. Then a blue and black ray of light formed in the mountain. It turned into a star and charged forward. The star was extremely strange. It emitted a dazzling light and quickly blasted forward. In an instant, the 3 golden flood dragons were all smashed into pieces. Not only that, the power of the huge star did not diminish and directly blasted the 3 golden sunset sect martial artists. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, the 3 of them vomited blood and were sent flying. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they were all stunned. The 3 of them joined forces, but they couldn't block the black-clothed old man's attack. Who the hell is this old man? Damn it, it's impossible. Who the hell are you? How can you be so strong? The 3 golden sunset sect martial artists were lying on the ground with a look of despair. Humph, how dare you walk outside when you don't even know me? The black-clothed old man sneered disdainfully. He waved his hand and grabbed the big black umbrella in the sky. Big Star Umbrella, are you old Monster Dugu? The 3 golden sunset sect disciples' pupils shrank. You're quite knowledgeable. Yes, it's me. The black-clothed old man snorted. When the surrounding people heard this, their scalps went numb. What, he's old Monster Dugu? No wonder he's so strong. That should be the Big Star Umbrella, right? It is indeed incomparably terrifying. It's over. It seems that the 3 from Jinxia sect have kicked an iron plate this time. Yes. Although eccentric Dugu is just a loose cultivator, he is very strong. Moreover, it is said that he once dug up the tombs of many kings and obtained many treasures. Therefore, his strength is incomparably terrifying. Most people wouldn't dare to provoke him. This old Monster Dugu also wants an invitation. Could it be that he also wants to participate in the stone gambling convention? Discussions broke out one after another. Clearly, everyone was still very afraid of this old Monster Dugu. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. It seemed that this black-clothed old man called Old Man Dugu did indeed have some reputation. However, he didn't think too much about it and just watched quietly. Below, the 3 golden sunset sect martial artists clenched their teeth and said, Old Monster Dugu, although you are strong, we are from Golden Sunset sect. If you dare to touch us, aren't you afraid of being hunted down by the Golden Cloud sect? No matter how strong you are, you can't fight against our Golden Sunset sect. However, after hearing this, the black-clothed old man laughed. 3 children, I advise you to obediently hand over the invitation. Otherwise, if you anger me, I will really kill you. At most, I will hide in the mountains for 8 to 10 years. I don't believe that the Golden Sunset sect can find me in such a big place like the Eastern Wilderness. After 8 to 10 years, when I come out again, I'm afraid that no one will remember this. So, whether you want to hand it over or not, you have to think carefully. You only have one chance. Damn it. Hearing the old man's threat, the 3 Golden Sunset sect martial artists' faces were extremely ugly. Indeed, if the old man was determined to hide, it would be difficult for the Golden Sunset sect to find him no matter how strong they were. Therefore, for safety reasons, the 3 of them didn't dare to take the risk. They gritted their teeth and took out an invitation reluctantly. This is the invitation to the Stone Gambling Convention. Take it. As he said that, one of them threw the invitation forward. Bus. Eccentric Dugu waved his sleeve and took the invitation in his hand. Then he looked at it carefully. When he found that it was indeed an invitation to the Stone Gambling Convention, he grinned. You should have done this earlier. You could have avoided a beating. I'm in a good mood today. Get lost. I won't kill you. As he said that, eccentric Dugu waved his sleeve again. 3 surging waves of energy surged out and slapped the 3 Golden Sunset sect martial artists away. He let out a loud laugh and with a flash of his body he soared into the sky. The surrounding martial artists cried out in alarm, but no one dared to resist. After all, eccentric Dugu was so powerful that they didn't dare to offend him. However, Lin Xian's eyes flickered. His body swayed and disappeared from the restaurant like a wisp of smoke. Then he quickly followed eccentric Dugu. To be honest, Lin Xian didn't think much of it at first. After all, this matter had nothing to do with him. However, in the end, when he saw eccentric Dugu fight for the invitation to the Stone Gambling Convention, Lin Xian had an idea. He also wanted to participate in the Stone Gambling Convention, but he didn't have an invitation. Now, however, a good opportunity had presented itself to him. If he could defeat eccentric Dugu and get the invitation, then he would be qualified to enter. Moreover, eccentric Dugu had snatched the invitation. He wouldn't feel guilty if he snatched it. Thinking of this, he followed unhurriedly. In front of him, eccentric Dugu's body was like a wild goose. He flew for thousands of miles and then stopped. He was surrounded by vast mountains. He was already far away from the city. Eccentric Dugu floated in the sky and suddenly turned his head. His eyes were like sharp sword chi that pierced through the void. At the same time his cold voice sounded, "You've been following me all the way. Come out now." Hearing this, Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. Had he been discovered? However, while he was thinking, a figure suddenly appeared in the void on the other side. It was a middle-aged man in white. He was holding a folding fan and dressed like a scholar. His face was cold as he floated in the void. His eyes were like blades as he stared ahead. "Eccentric Dugu, you really live up to your reputation. I was so careful but you still discovered me. Are there someone else?" Lin Xian was also surprised. The other party's concealment skills were very good. Even he was almost fooled. It wasn't that he couldn't discover the other party, but that he didn't deliberately check. This was because he didn't expect that there would be someone with the same idea as him. However, it seemed that he had to check the surroundings carefully. Therefore Lin Xian spread out his soul power and checked the surroundings. He found that only the middle-aged man in white was following him. After all, eccentric Dugu's strength was terrifying. Ordinary kings wouldn't dare to have any ideas about him. Chapter 1912. Golden Brush Scholar, do you really think you can do anything to me? You really don't know what's good for you. What? Do you want the invitation to the stone gambling convention too? The middle-aged man in white shook his head. It's just an invitation. It's not a big deal for me. What I'm interested in is the great astral umbrella in your hand. Old man Dugu, why don't you take out the great astral umbrella and let me play with it for a few years? You're courting death. Old man Dugu was furious. The great astral umbrella was his treasure. How could he give it to someone else? Therefore he said coldly in the next moment, "Golden Pen Scholar, since you're courting death, don't blame me." With that, he took out the great astral umbrella from his back and released a sharp aura from his body. He was like a demon king looking down on everyone. The great astral umbrella in his hand emitted a black light. On the surface of the umbrella, there were blue lines shining like real stars. It was very mysterious. Good. I'll see the power of the great astral umbrella today. The middle-aged man in white laughed wildly. Then a golden brush appeared in his hand. Old man Dugu snorted and spun the great astral umbrella in his hand, releasing a terrifying aura. The great astral umbrella shone brightly and released a silver river. It was like a heavenly blade that swept forward. The silver river carried a monstrous power. It cut through the void and swept toward the middle-aged man in white in an instant. But the middle-aged man in white was not afraid at all. He waved the golden brush in his hand and quickly danced in the air. The golden brush shone with golden light, but the lines drawn were blood red as if they were fresh blood. There was a strong smell of blood. Soon, a picture of a demon king with a ferocious face and fangs appeared in the air. It was a picture of a demon king with a pair of wings on his back. The picture was so lifelike that anyone who saw it could not help but clap their hands and cheer. However, there was a strange change under the influence of the golden brush. The ferocious demon king seemed to have come alive. He leaped into the air and turned into a real demon king. Brr. The roar shook 3,000 miles and a terrifying force swept through the 9 heavens. Lin Xian, who was hiding in the dark and watching, was shocked. He did not expect the mystic skills and dharma treasures of the two men to be so amazing. He had never seen it before. Therefore, at this moment, his eyes flickered as he watched carefully. In the sky, the terrifying attacks collided with each other, erupting with resplendent light. The entire world was trembling. Boundless light erupted as the ground cracked open. The surrounding mountain peaks were directly split into 2 halves as boundless power surged forth. Lin Xian hid in the darkness and executed Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps, quickly widening the distance. Now that he was hit by this kind of energy, he would definitely be discovered, so he came to a safe place and silently watched the battle again. In front of him, there was a shocking explosion. Subsequently, the white-robed middle-aged man and old man Dugu each retreated 3,000 meters. Their expressions were incomparably solemn. But soon after, eccentric Dugu coldly snorted. He activated the Great Star Umbrella, and it expanded in the wind, turning into hundreds of giant umbrellas that reached the heavens. Like a giant sword that could split a mountain, a terrifying murderous aura soared into the sky. At this moment he was like a demon king. His eyes were sharp and his robes were fluttering. A sharp aura gushed out quickly. Together with the Great Star Umbrella, he unleashed a series of devastating attacks. As for the white-clothed scholar, he was waving the golden brush in his hand. Strange scenes appeared one after another. Defenses, swords, and terrifying beasts were displayed in the air, turning into pure energy that surged forward. The two of them fought so fiercely that the heavens and earth seemed to shatter. Everything within a radius of 10,000 li was flattened, and nothing could stop them. The terrifying golden brush in the white-clothed scholar's hand turned into golden dragons that rushed out and filled the entire sky. Each of the terrifying golden dragons was hundreds of meters long. They were extremely terrifying, and the scales on them were shining as if they were real dragons. Boom. On the other hand, the Great Star Mountain shone brightly, and thousands of silver rivers drooped down, stirring rapidly and tearing the void apart. Then all of the golden dragons were killed. The two of them fought for hundreds of rounds. Finally, eccentric Dugu seized an opportunity and activated the Great Star Mountain with all his might. The stars in the sky fell from the sky and directly blasted the white-clothed scholar away. The white-clothed middle-aged man vomited blood, and his white clothes were stained with blood. His face was extremely pale, and he had received a terrifying injury. Damn it! The white-clothed middle-aged man gritted his teeth. He had already exerted all his strength, but he couldn't defeat his opponent at all. In the end, he could only soar into the sky and disappear. If he continued to fight, his injuries would be even more serious. Eccentric Dugu sneered when he saw the other party escape. He wasn't someone that anyone could mess with, and his Great Star Umbrella was extremely terrifying. Even if the other party was the mysterious Golden Brush Scholar, he wouldn't be afraid. With a wave of his sleeve, eccentric Dugu put away the Great Star Umbrella and turned to leave. However, at this moment, a faint voice floated from behind. What? Are you leaving already? I haven't seen enough yet. Why don't you leave the invitation card behind? The voice was very calm and very young. It sounded like a young man. Eccentric Dugu's body stiffened when he heard that, and he frowned. There's actually someone here. And I've been observing him. Why didn't he notice me? In the next moment, he suddenly turned around, and his gaze swept across the entire void like a long knife. Who is it? Stop pretending to be mysterious. Get out here. What? You can't even find where I am. What's there to be arrogant about? I advise you to obediently put down the invitation card and I'll let you go. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't let me off so easily. The faint laughter was heard again. This voice was naturally Lin Xian's. He was hiding in the void and he was ready to make his move. Humph, what a joke. You want me to put down the invitation card with just these few words? Don't you think you're too naive? Eccentric Dugu sneered. I don't care if you're a human or a ghost. Hurry up and get out here. Otherwise, if I find you, I'll definitely tear you to pieces. He dares to threaten me? Eccentric Dugu gritted his teeth. He couldn't stand it. However, Lin Xian sighed. Since you're not willing to take the initiative to hand it over, don't blame me for making a move. In the next moment, he walked over from the void. What? Eccentric Dugu was stunned when he saw this scene. He had originally thought that it would be some powerful king, but he didn't expect it to be a young man. He was only in his 20s and he couldn't see any aura fluctuations on his body. How dare someone like that threaten him? He really didn't know what was good for him. One had to know that he was eccentric Dugu. He had lived for more than 1,000 years, and his strength was comparable to that of a saint. Chapter 1913. Kid, which family are you from? I think your head must have been kicked by a donkey. How dare you behave so atrociously in front of me? It seems that you really don't know what's good for you. However, Lin Xian was calm after hearing that. He said indifferently, you don't have to be so arrogant. You only chased away a middle-aged scholar and 3 martial artists from the Golden Dawn sect. With such strength, you don't have to be so arrogant. To be honest, your strength is really weak in front of me. So, I advise you not to fight with me. You're courting death. Old Monster Dugu was furious. His expression was abnormally ferocious. Do you know who I am? Even the Holy Sun wouldn't dare to say such words in front of me. Is that so? Not necessarily. Lin Xian sneered. Although you're strong, you're still lacking compared to the real Holy Sun. And you've lived for thousands of years, yet you're inferior to the younger generation. Do you feel ashamed? If I were you, I would have obediently returned to the mountains to cultivate. Why would I go to the stone gambling convention? So, give me this invitation. I'm so angry. I'll definitely tear you into pieces. Old Monster Dugu roared crazily. He couldn't tolerate the other party's contempt and ridicule. So, in the next moment he stomped his foot and quickly rushed toward Lin Xian like a god of death. Beside him, rivers of stars connected the heavens and the earth like the Milky Way, constantly dancing. Each river of stars was as thick as a mountain, and its momentum was vast and terrifying. It carried the terrifying power of the stars. Boom. With a wave of his hand, dozens of rivers of stars tore through the void and swept toward Lin Xian, wanting to kill him. Kid, go to hell. Old Monster Dugu sneered. The power of the rivers of stars was his divine ability. It was incomparably terrifying. It borrowed the power of the stars above the 9 heavens and fused with his spiritual power to refine it. Ordinary kings couldn't resist it all. In his opinion, it would only take an instant for the other party to be killed. However, Lin Xian's expression was calm. Facing the power of the rivers of stars, his expression was indifferent. He didn't even try to dodge. When the river of stars reached him, he stretched out his hand. In his palm, blue ice crystals appeared. Then a terrifying power of ice burst out and rushed forward. Ka-ka-ka. The cold air spread throughout the entire sky, and in an instant the 9 galaxies were completely frozen. In the sky before him, 9 blue ice pillars pierced through the sky like 9 icebergs, floating in the void. What? Was frozen? How is this possible? On the other side, Old Man Dugu was truly stunned. He did not expect that his powerful galaxy would actually be sealed in ice. This was something that had never happened before. Damn it, how is this possible? How can this brat have such a terrifying icy aura? Could he be an ice attribute martial artist? Eccentric Dugu's face was grave. He realized that he had underestimated the other party. Kid, who are you? Which sect are you from? Tell me your name. I don't kill nameless people. Old Monster Dugu coldly snorted. He did this because he wanted to figure out Lin Xian's identity. However, Lin Xian said in a deep voice, I don't belong to any sect. I'm just a rogue cultivator. What? No sect? A rogue cultivator? Old Monster Dugu's eyes widened. Only a fool would believe that. Such a powerful young man could only be nurtured by the top sacred grounds and the clan of the ancients. Now the other party actually said that he didn't belong to any sect. He would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. One had to know that in addition to talent, young geniuses also needed a lot of resources to nurture. This kind of resources could not be taken out by ordinary sections. Only the top sects and the clan of the ancients could take it out. Kid, I originally wanted to spare your life. But since you won't tell me your identity, then don't blame me for being impolite. When the time comes, I'll kill you. Even if your elders come looking for you, they can't blame me. Old Monster Dugu coldly snorted, and the murderous aura on his body quickly spread. However, Lin Xian said indifferently, Go ahead. As long as you have the strength to kill me, then do it. Lin Xian was very calm. Indeed, he could even kill a holy son, let alone a mere Old Monster Dugu. Moreover, he could see that most of Old Monster Dugu's magical powers and power were on the Great Astral Umbrella. At this moment, if Old Monster Dugu did not use the Great Astral Umbrella, he would not be a match for him at all. Old Monster Dugu naturally understood this point, so he did not hesitate to use the Great Astral Umbrella. The Great Astral Umbrella swept across the sky and quickly spread out. It was like a black wave crashing in the sky. A terrifying power swept out in all directions, turning into streaks of cold blade light that slashed forward. The terrifying power of the stars, along with boundless murderous aura, arrived in front of Lin Xian in an instant. Lin Xian, on the other hand, raised his palm and slapped forward. Suddenly, a boundless icy aura spread out and completely froze the sharp blade light. Then he gently waved his palm and slapped it into countless ice cubes. After the sea god's ice evolved, it could even threaten an almighty, let alone a mere blade light attack. Seeing this scene, Old Monster Dugu's face was unusually ugly. This was because he realized that his opponent's icy power was too terrifying. Could freeze everything. This surprised him, but then he revealed a trace of malevolence. Kid, don't think that you can be arrogant just because you're an ice-based martial artist. You're unlucky to have met me. I didn't want to kill you, but you're too arrogant. Today I'll teach you a lesson. With that, he suspended the Great Astral Umbrella in the void, and thousands of stars fell down and shrouded his body. As for himself, he took out a red gourd from his waist. I admit that your ice is powerful, but under my blazing starfire you can't fight back at all. Blazing starfire? Lin Xian looked puzzled. Old Monster Dugu, on the other hand, laughed loudly and looked very proud. The blazing starfire was a very terrifying flame that came from the lotus in the endless starry sky. Kid, you didn't expect me to have this kind of flame, did you? Let me tell you, even a true saint wouldn't dare to resist this kind of flame. Not to mention you. So, go to hell. Who asked you to provoke me? This is what you get for provoking me. Old Monster Dougal laughed sinisterly, then opened the red gourd. Suddenly, a purple flame spread out. A terrifying temperature rose to the sky, like a sea of fire, instantly covering the entire space. The scorching heat made the void tremble. Oh, this flame is not bad. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He didn't expect Old Monster Dougal to have so many treasures in his hands. First, it was the great astral umbrella, then the purple flame. Chapter 1914. Lin Xian nodded slightly and then sucked hard. A powerful devouring force slashed out and turned into a huge vortex, crazily engulfing the surroundings. The surrounding sea of fire was attracted by this force and crazily rushed toward Lin Xian. Old Monster Dougal was stunned at first, then he laughed wildly. Ha ha, kid, you're really an idiot. Even a saint would have to run away if he encountered this kind of flame, but you actually dared to provoke it? As long as you come into contact with a trace of the flame, you'll be burned to ashes. Old Monster Dougal was very confident in his blazing starfire because he knew how terrifying this kind of flame was. However, he was soon dumbfounded. He realized that Lin Xian had opened his mouth and sucked all the purple flames into his body. In the next moment, Lin Xian's body emitted a purple light, but it quickly disappeared. Nothing happened at all? How is this possible? Old Monster Dougal was really stunned. This kind of purple flame could burn any 6-star king to death. Even a saint-level figure would not dare to provoke them easily if they saw them. One could only imagine how terrifying it was. But now, this young man in front of him had easily absorbed it and was not hurt at all? He could not believe it. He did not know that Lin Xian was not only an ice-type martial artist, but also a powerful flame ability. He had the demonic hellfire in his body, which was the origin flame of the ancient demonic beast, the heavenly netherbird. In addition, the great dragon sword soul was extremely terrifying and could destroy everything. Therefore, although the blazing starfire was powerful, it could not hurt Lin Xian at all. As soon as it entered his body, it was destroyed by the great dragon sword soul. Then it was devoured by the demonic hellfire. Lin Xian realized that the demonic hellfire's energy and power had increased by quite a bit, and he immediately smiled happily. Then he looked forward and said happily, "Old man, do you have any more magic treasures? Hurry up and use them. I can't wait any longer." Old Monster Dougal was so angry that he vomited blood. He had a fierce reputation and ordinary Saint Land martial artists had to be patient when they saw him. But now he was being provoked. This made him so angry that his lungs were about to explode. The next moment he roared. With the great star umbrella in hand, he quickly charged over. The terrifying great astral umbrella flickered like a black spear, emitting boundless energy. Boom. Lin Xian, on the other hand, slapped his palms together to form a wall of ice that blasted forward. Boom. Boom. The terrifying great astral umbrella collided with the ice walls in the sky. It was like 10,000 claps of thunder, causing the entire void to tremble rapidly. This time Old Monster Dougal was truly mad with anger. With his unparalleled might and power, they arrived in front of Lin Xian. Then the great star umbrella opened completely. It wasn't black inside. Instead, it was old and slightly yellowed. On its surface there were many veined patterns. What supported the entire umbrella were white brackets that looked like bones. A terrifying aura emanated from the big star umbrella, causing Lin Xian to frown. He discovered that not only that, but there were also many terrifying scenes inside the stellar umbrella, and they were divided into a total of 4 scenes. One of them was a sea of fire that filled the sky. It was a monster that was red all over and had red wings on its back. It was born of fire. The second scene was next to it. It was a single-horned monster that held a trident in its hand. Millions of corpses lay at its feet. The third scene was a strange person that was pitch black all over and looked like a bat. He appeared out of thin air and covered the entire sky. The fourth scene was a tall giant with 4 arms and an eye on its face. It was abnormally evil. The bright light screen only froze for a moment before it emitted a shattering sound. In the end, it directly cracked like glass. Boom. Old Monster Dougal could not escape. He could only raise the great star umbrella in front of him and forcefully resist the sword. Then he was sent flying. However, just as he stabilized his body and climbed out of the rubble that filled the sky, his scalp went numb. Because in the sky, tens of thousands of sword aura had formed a black qilin and suppressed down. Before the terrifying black qilin could land, its astonishing energy had directly shattered the ground around him. Chapter 1915. He wanted to escape, but 4 ice phoenixes suddenly appeared around him. They were extremely white and emitted a terrifying chill that completely froze the entire space. Terror, absolute terror. Old Monster Dugu's face was filled with despair. This technique was too heaven-defying. One had to know that the Golden Pen Scholar had also used this technique, but compared to the young man in front of him, his technique was like a firefly compared to the sun and moon. He had never seen any divine ability that could be so realistic. If he had not seen with his own eyes that the fire qilin and the ice phoenixes were evolved, he would have thought that they were divine beasts that existed between heaven and earth. I admit defeat, I admit defeat. Old Monster Dugu shouted crazily. Don't you want the invitation to the stone gambling convention? I'll give it to you. As he spoke, he shot out a ray of light and threw the invitation out. He really did not dare to continue fighting because he felt that his life was in danger. If he continued fighting, he was afraid that she would be killed here. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian took the invitation card. Then he waved his sleeve, and the terrifying fire qilin and the 4 ice phoenixes quickly turned into spiritual qi and entered his body. Phew. Old Monster Dugu heaved a sigh of relief when he saw this. However, he still cupped his fists and said, I was wrong to have offended you, young master. I hope you can forgive me. The stone gambling convention is next to the Dragon Transformation Lake. You can go there now. I'll leave now. With that, he turned around and left. At that moment, Lin Xian said in a deep voice, Wait. Bus. Old Monster Dugu's body stiffened, and his face became extremely ugly. He turned his head stiffly and revealed a fawning smile. Is there anything else, young master? To be honest, he was extremely afraid. If Lin Xian wanted to kill him now, he would be killed. It would be difficult for him to escape. However, Lin Xian said calmly, I just came to the southern region, so I don't know much about the stone gambling convention. Don't you want to go too? Why don't you come with me? Go together? Old Monster Dugu's face became very ugly when he heard this. He did not dare to stay with Lin Xian now, because the other party was simply too dangerous. Well, this old man is just an old man. Following by young master's side is too much of a hindrance. It's better for me to leave. Besides, I just remembered that I have something to take care of, so I really can't accompany you anymore. Goodbye. After saying that, Old Monster Dugu turned around and wanted to leave. However, Lin Xian snorted and his expression darkened. What? You don't want to go with me? Old Man Dugu's body stiffened when he heard the ice-cold voice. He didn't dare to leave because a cold killing intent enveloped him. He felt that if he dared to move, the other party would definitely make a move. Therefore, he turned around and laughed dryly again. I remember now. It's not an urgent matter. I can deal with it in a few days. Besides, since young master is alone, you must be lacking someone to do odd jobs. In that case, this old man will follow young master. Very good. Suchin smiled and nodded. Let's go then. After saying that, he stepped into the air and flew into the distance. Old Monster Dugu also followed by his side. Although he was unwilling, he didn't dare to leave at all. Southern region, Dragon Transformation Lake. This was a jade-green lake with beautiful scenery. It was named Dragon Transformation Lake because the shape of the lake was like a crouching dragon. The lake was green and bottomless. The scenery was pleasant and divine. It was like a paradise on earth. Near the Dragon Transformation Lake, there was a huge plain. The terrain was wide and suitable for large-scale activities. Therefore, the Stone Gambling Convention was near Dragon Transformation Lake. This time, the Stone Gambling Convention was jointly hosted by the 5 Great Sage. It could be said that their background was very terrifying. Absolutely no one dared to cause trouble here. At this moment, there were still 2 days before the real event began. However, many martial artists had gathered at Dragon Transformation Lake. Of course, those who could come here were all people of extraordinary status. Those without an invitation couldn't enter at all. Boom. At this moment, a huge fluctuation appeared in the sky. Then, a 5-colored ray of light descended from the sky. A group of people stood with their heads held high. They looked extraordinary as they landed near Dragon Transformation Lake. What a big show. Who are these people? How dare they be so arrogant? Lower your voice. Don't let them hear you. Are you stupid? Those are people from the Tuoba family. What? The Tuoba family? They're here too. Of course, the Tuoba family was a powerful family of seeker spiritual masters. How could they not come to such a stone gambling convention? Indeed, the group of people who descended were powerhouses from the Tuoba family. Each of them walked with majestic gait. Their eyes shone with a deep light. It was obvious that they had cultivated an extremely profound eye technique. After they descended, they were quickly escorted away. That was because seeker spiritual masters were extremely popular. One had to know that if one could get the help of a powerful seeker spiritual master, they would definitely be able to obtain treasures in the stone gambling convention later. If they could obtain a divine crystal, they would be rich. After the Tuoba family, the void fluctuated violently again. Even the ground began to tremble. Then everyone opened their eyes wide. In the distant horizon, there was a huge monster flying towards them at high speed. When it got closer, the crowd realized that it was an earthen dragon. It was extremely huge, at least 100 feet long. Its entire body was made up of rocks and earth. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws. It was unusually ferocious and had a strong aura of a dragon. Damn, what kind of superpower is this? Although it was just an earthen dragon made up of rocks, its aura was too terrifying. It was as if it was a real dragon. Could it be that it was supported by the power of the dragon vein? What? Dragon vein? Heavens, is there really someone who can find such a thing? Exclamations of surprise were heard. They were from the Ouyang family. No wonder they were so powerful. The Ouyang family was here too. The Ouyang family was also one of the seeker families. They were extremely powerful and were not any weaker than the Tuoba family. In fact, they were even more powerful. In front of them, many figures stood on the earthen dragon and flew quickly towards the dragon transformation lake. Soon the earthen dragon gradually stopped. Then it sank into the ground and disappeared. The ground also healed without a single crack. It was as if the scene that they had just seen was just a dream. However, the crowd knew that it was not a dream because there was an additional group of people in front of them. A group of powerful seeker spiritual masters. In the crowd, the Tuoba family looked at the newly arrived seeker spiritual masters and snorted. Their eyes were filled with hostility. As for the Ouyang family, their eyes flickered and mysterious Dao inscriptions appeared. Chapter 1916. Brother Ouyang, you've also come. Right at that moment, several terrifying figures appeared. Although they had restrained their powerful auras, it was still enough to make one's heart jump. Clearly they were all almighties. They respectfully invited the elders of the Ouyang family away. As for the youngsters of the Ouyang family, they were also quickly led away by the others. Soon after, more and more powers arrived, and the dragon transformation lake became more and more lively. Later on, there were even some people fighting over the position of a seeker spirit master. Fortunately, there were 5 great sage lands overseeing the lake. Thus no one dared to make a move. A day passed. There was only one day left before the real stone gambling conference began. On this day, 3 figures appeared in the sky. One was a handsome young man who looked like an immortal. One was a black-robed old man, and the other was a red dragon horse. Naturally, they were Lin Xian's group of 3. The handsome young man was Lin Xian in disguise. As for the black-robed old man, he was naturally old eccentric Dugu. As for the dragon horse, it was a dark red divine dragon. The dark red divine dragon was also wanted by the All Beginnings Holy Land. Thus, it had to change its form. Back then, the dark red divine dragon had directly changed into a fire qilin. Its entire body was bathed in flames, and it looked extraordinarily mighty as if it were a true divine beast. However, Lin Xian's complexion had turned black. If he were to go out like that, even almighties would be envious. After all, qilins were ancient divine beasts that had already disappeared from the world. If such a divine beast were to appear, not to mention almighties, even the holy masters of the Holy Lands would go crazy. Thus, Lin Xian had the dark red divine dragon change its form again. With no other choice, the dark red divine dragon unwillingly changed into a simplified version of the fire qilin, making it look more like a dragon horse. Although it still looked very eye-catching, it was still much better than the fire qilin. Thus Lin Xian agreed. A group of people descended from the sky. Look, someone else is coming down. Who is that? I don't recognize him. What's there to see? What are you looking at? What's there to see? He's not a seeker spirit master. Many people shook their heads, not paying any attention to them. However, there were still a small number of people who raised their heads and looked ahead. Then they were stunned and screamed one after another. Fuck, what is that? Could it be the legendary Qilin? It's not a Qilin. A Qilin is even more powerful than this. But what exactly is this? Cries of surprise could be heard. Soon the surrounding people were also affected. They all raised their heads and looked over. Then they were extremely shocked. Among them, there were a few elders whose eyes were shining. Heavens, a mutant of the heavens and the earth. Just by looking at its aura and appearance, it's definitely a mutated species. That's right, they were all staring at the dark red dragon. Because at this moment, the dark red divine dragon had turned into a draconic horse. Its entire body was dark red, without a trace of impurities. Its 4 hooves were suffused with monstrous flames. It burned fiercely, looking mighty and extraordinary, like a divine horse made of flames. Seeing the surrounding martial artists exclaim in admiration, the dark red divine dragon snorted. If not for Lin Xian stopping him, he would have already transformed into a Qilin. At that time these people's jaws would definitely drop, right? At this time, several powerful martial artists walked up and surrounded the dark red divine dragon. Damn, look at its fur. It's so shiny. Look, there are flames on its hooves. What a terrifying temperature. I really want to use it as a mount. A middle-aged man went behind the dark red divine dragon and was eager to try. Initially, the dark red divine dragon was still very proud because of the praises around it. However, when it heard the last sentence, its face immediately darkened. How dare you use it as a mount? You really don't know what's good for you. I'll kick you in the face. The dark red divine dragon was enraged. It raised its hind hooves and kicked behind it. Boom. This kick sent the middle-aged man behind it flying. A low voice was heard. Then the middle-aged man turned into a meteor and smashed into the distance. He crashed into a mountain peak and collapsed it. Seeing this scene, the crowd was extremely shocked. The few martial artists who had surrounded the dark red divine dragon earlier also distanced themselves from it, each of them bewildered and bewildered. Heavens, what the hell is that thing? It's too terrifying, isn't it? It can send a powerhouse flying with a kick. Damn, that's too scary. Hurry up and stay away. Otherwise we won't even know how we're sent flying. However, a few old men's eyes lit up as they stared at the dark red divine dragon. It's a mutant. What a violent power. I really want to take it for myself. Then they quickly surrounded it. This time they did not surround the dark red divine dragon, but Lin Xian, who was beside the dark red divine dragon. Although they also felt that the black-robed old man beside him had a powerful aura, he looked more like a servant than a housekeeper. Therefore, they looked at the handsome young man in front of them and felt that he was the young master of an aristocratic family. Therefore, these people asked, "Young master, how much are you selling this pet for? Name a price. I'll buy it for how much? I saw it first. Why are you guys joining in the fun? You saw it first? Do you have that much money? I'm a member of the Wang family. I saw this horse. How dare you snatch it from me?" Before Lin Xian could say anything, a few people who came up to ask for the price had already started fighting and arguing. However, the dark red divine dragon was so angry that his face turned black. He immediately raised his 4 hooves and slapped all the people around him away. Damn, how dare you call me a pet? You're the fucking pet. Come here if you dare. I'll slap you to death. The dark red divine dragon was so angry that he gritted his teeth. He realized that turning into a draconic horse was not a wise choice. However, there was no way he could turn back now. Damn, this draconic horse has a bad temper. It's too wild. However, it's more interesting to tame such a beast. If you can completely tame it, it won't betray you for the rest of its life. Keep your voice down. I think this horse is very powerful. It's not weaker than a 6-star king. Be careful not to be kicked away by its hooves. That would be embarrassing. Discussions broke out one after another. Lin Xian felt a little helpless. He was surrounded by a group of people before even entering the stone gambling convention. It seemed that he couldn't keep a low profile even if he wanted to. To be honest, old Monster Dugu was also surprised. At first, he thought that the dark red divine dragon was just a long snake because he didn't know that the dark red divine dragon was a dragon. Therefore, he thought that the dark red divine dragon was a snake, a pet, and not very powerful. However, he didn't expect that it would be extremely powerful. A few of those old men were 6-star kings and they were quite powerful. In the end, they couldn't even block one attack. One could imagine how terrifying the dark red divine dragon was. Chapter 1917. There was still a day before the real stone gambling convention, so the crowd could not enter and could only wait outside. Of course, those with status had already been invited in. The remaining people made up the majority. They had nothing to do, so some of them even started to do business. One of the gray-robed old men waved his arm and took out 7 or 8 grayish-brown stones. He placed them on the ground. He said loudly, "Come, come, come, let's warm them up. I have a few ancient mystical stones here. They're usually not open to the public, but I've reluctantly sold them during the stone gambling convention." "What? You have ancient mystical stones?" Many people crowded around when they heard that. The others sneered, "What ancient mystical stones? You must be lying. If you really have such treasures, why don't you take them out during the stone gambling convention tomorrow? You're just fooling people by taking them out now." "That's true. But who cares? There's a show to watch. Anyway, we have nothing to do now." "Fuck, who's that old guy? He's so fast. How dare he steal our business?" The others had the same plan, but they did not expect that someone else would snatch the stones away. Therefore they could not wait any longer. They took out the stones one by one and set up stalls. Anyway, if they could deceive as many as they could, they would earn enough capital today so that they could enter the stone gambling convention tomorrow and buy the real mystical stones. Someone set up a stall in advance? Let's go and take a look. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes and walked forward. Anyway, as the others said, since he had nothing to do now, he might as well go and take a look. Perhaps he could really find some treasures. Therefore Lin Xian found a stall that was closer to the stall and went to take a look. Other than Lin Xian, there were quite a number of people surrounding the stall. However, at that moment there was a commotion behind them. Then an extremely arrogant voice was heard, "Get out of the way, get out of the way. Can't you see that my young master is here? Get out of the way." Then the crowd dispersed, and a young man dressed in green strode over with a fan in his hand. He was dressed in green, and there was a long sword hanging from his waist. The long sword was inlaid with some beautiful divine stones. A strong wave of spiritual power was emitted from it. The young man had sharp eyes and sharp eyebrows. There was infinite arrogance in his eyes. Beside him were 2 servants. The 2 servants had their noses in the air, looking very arrogant. "Who is this? How can he be so arrogant?" Some people around were dissatisfied. "He's from the Swallow Cloud sect. Looks like his background isn't small. It's best not to offend him." The young man had an arrogant look on his face and didn't say anything. His chin was raised high as if he didn't care about anyone. One of the 2 servants beside him sneered, "Let me tell you something. Our young master's father is an elder of the Swallow Cloud sect. If you offend us, you'll have to bear the consequences. Get out of the way." An elder of the Yen Yun sect. Hearing this, many people were shocked and made way for him. After all, the Swallow Cloud sect was also a peerless sect. The strength of an elder in the sect was absolutely terrifying. Therefore no one dared to provoke this arrogant young man. However, there were exceptions. There were 3 motionless figures in front of them. They were Lin Xian and the other 2. "Fuck, who is this? How dare you not make way? Don't you want to live?" "I don't know, but this kid seems to have an extraordinary background. He actually has such a mutant by his side. I think he's probably a disciple of a large family or faction." The crowd discussed animatedly. Although they didn't know Lin Xian, the dark red dragon beside Lin Xian was too eye-catching. Moreover, there was a black-robed old man with him. Although he had restrained his aura, it still made people's hearts tremble. Such a person must have a powerful background. However, the young man from the Swallow Cloud sect frowned. Someone actually dared to put on airs in front of him. He really didn't know what was good for him. However, before he could speak, the 2 servants beside him shouted angrily, "Kid, who are you? Don't you have ears? Get lost." Hearing this, Lin Xian didn't say anything, but the dark red dragon and old monster Dugu were furious. Especially old monster Dugu, whose nerves were cold. One had to know that he was a fierce and unrestrained person. Usually, when the martial artists of the sacred grounds saw him, they would retreat. But now, someone actually dared to reprimand him. They were simply courting death. He coldly snorted and was about to attack. However, Lin Xian waved his hand and stopped him. Lin Xian mainly didn't want to provoke trouble and attract the attention of almighty experts. If that happened, he might be targeted by the All Beginnings Holy Land. Seeing Lin Xian stop him, old monster Dugu no longer attacked. However, he still coldly snorted. "This place is so big. Don't you have legs? Can't you take a detour? You are courting death. Our young master is so precious. You actually dare to ask him to take a detour? Are you tired of living? Fuck your grandpa. The dark red dragon exerted himself and kicked that insolent servant away. He wasn't someone to be trifled with. Moreover, when he threw a tantrum, Lin Xian couldn't stop him. Therefore, his kick directly made that servant disappear. What? Seeing this scene, the surrounding crowd went into an uproar. However, the people from the Swallow Cloud sect also frowned. Audacious. You dare to attack us? Are you tired of living? Do you know who we are? The remaining servant gnashed his teeth and roared crazily. The other party actually dared to attack them. They were truly audacious and didn't know the difference between life and death. Oh, you still dare to be arrogant? The dark red dragon still wanted to attack, but he was stopped by Lin Xian. On the other side, the arrogant youth from the Swallow Cloud sect said in a deep voice. Enough. Don't pay attention to them. Yes, young master. That servant said respectfully. Then he fiercely glared at Lin Xian's group. Brat, consider yourself lucky. Our young master is magnanimous and will let you go. Otherwise you are dead. Lin Xian didn't pay attention to such people. In his eyes, such people were nothing more than ants. He didn't care about them at all. Instead, he stared at the stall in front of him and said in a deep voice, Uncle, how much are you selling these stones? Oh, you still want to gamble on stones? Do you have money? These are all wondrous stones. Can you afford them? On the other side, the arrogant youth from the Swallow Cloud sect walked over. The servant beside him sneered. Slap. Beside him, old monster Dugu couldn't take it anymore. He slapped the servant's face, turning it into a pig's head. Damn servant, we can speak. Do you have the right to speak? How dare you hit me? The servant covered his face. His teeth were all broken. He was bleeding profusely as he looked at old monster Dugu in horror. However, he still shouted crazily, How dare you hit me? How dare you hit me? Young master, you must kill him. Help me kill him. Chapter 1918. Previously, one of his servants had been sent flying. Now, another servant had been slapped in the face. This made him lose face. Therefore, in the next moment, his face darkened as he stared at Lin Xian, old monster Dugu, and the others. Kid, if we weren't near the dragon transformation lake, it wouldn't be convenient for us to fight. You're all dead now. However, since you dared to provoke the Yen Yun sect, I will remember you. After the stone gambling event, the three of you will not have a good ending. Just you wait. Tiske. Lin Xian ignored him. Old monster Dugu snorted coldly. The dark red dragon looked at him with disdain. This kind of threat had no effect on them. The arrogant young master of the Yen Yun sect also snorted coldly. However, letting you off so easily would be letting you off too easily. Don't you want to bet on stones? Kid, do you dare to bet with me? Bet with you? Are you worthy? Lin Xian glanced at him. He did not have any expression, but there was a trace of disdain in his eyes. Feeling this disregard, the arrogant young man was about to go crazy. He had a noble status and no one had ever dared to look down on him. However, this despicable kid in front of him not only looked down on him, but also ignored him. This made him mad with anger. What? You don't dare? The arrogant young man sneered. There's nothing we don't dare to do. The dark red dragon also sneered. However, do you have enough crystals on you? Don't bet halfway and you'll be out of money. That would be embarrassing. Humph, you don't have to worry about that. Just tell me if you dare or not, the arrogant young man said coldly. Okay, I'll play with you, Lin Xian said indifferently. Then he looked ahead and said, This is it. What? Stone gambling. Hearing this, the surrounding crowd became excited and gathered around. Those who were even further away were also walking towards them. Seeing Lin Xian choose a stone so easily, the surrounding crowd was shocked. The arrogant young master sneered, You are really a country bumpkin. I haven't even told you how to play and you can't wait to choose a stone? It seems that you are an ignorant idiot. How do you want to play? Lin Xian asked indifferently. He wasn't angry because stone gambling wasn't that difficult for him. One had to know that very few people could match his eye technique. Even those powerful seeker spirit master families might not be able to defeat him. Not to mention the insolent young man in front of him. However, young Master Qian didn't know that. He said coldly, Let's be more direct. We'll each choose a stone and whoever cuts out more crystals wins. Sure. Lin Yuan nodded. I still choose this stone. I won't change my mind. TSK, what an idiot. This stone of yours is dim and lightless at first glance. There is absolutely no crystal inside. You brat, you definitely don't know anything. Just you wait, you're going to lose this time. At this point, young Master Qian revealed a ferocious expression. I didn't mention the consequences of losing earlier. Can I tell you now? The loser must kneel and kowtow to the winner. What? Kneel and kowtow? The crowd exclaimed. This was a direct slap in the face. Looking at these two young men, their identities weren't simple. If they kneeled and kowtowed in public, it would definitely be a slap in the face. They probably wouldn't be able to raise their heads for the rest of their lives. They didn't expect young Master Qian to be so vicious. The crowd was in a heated discussion. Young Master Qian sneered, "Brat, how is it? Are you afraid? Let me tell you, if you dare to hit my servant, I will definitely kill you. I will definitely make you kneel at my feet, kowtow, and admit your mistake. Moreover, the rule of stone gambling is that the chosen stone can't be changed. So, you can slowly wait for your death." In young Master Qian's opinion, if the other party dared to compete with him, he was simply dead meat. He was 100% confident now. In the next moment, young Master Qian sneered. Two balls of red light appeared in his eyes and gradually expanded, forming a triangular shape. Buzz. Accompanying it was a faint red light and a terrifying aura. This is an eye technique. The crowd was shocked. They didn't expect that although young Master Qian was arrogant, he still had the strength. Judging from his eye technique, he was definitely an expert. It's over. That brat is dead meat. Young Master Qian's eye technique is extraordinary. He will definitely be able to choose a good stone. Yeah, that brat didn't use anything and just casually chose a stone. Does he know what stone gambling is? Sounds of discussion could be heard. Many people shook their heads and sighed. Although they didn't like young Master Qian at this moment, it seemed that Lin Xian was more likely to lose. At the side, old Monster Dugu was also feeling uneasy. That was because he also felt that Lin Xian was being too casual. No matter what, he should have used his divine ability to check it out. However, the other party didn't do anything at all and casually chose a stone. He was simply too irresponsible. He secretly observed Lin Xian's expression and found that the other party was very calm, as if he didn't take this matter seriously. Sai, young and ignorant. Although he is powerful, it doesn't mean that his spirit-seeking technique is powerful. Old Monster Dugu shook his head in his heart. He had seen many similar situations in the past. In his opinion, Lin Xian was too arrogant. However, Lin Xian's expression was calm, and the dark red divine dragon at the side sneered. He knew Lin Xian's true strength. This stone gambling was nothing at all. He was already looking forward to seeing the other party's expression when the results were revealed. In front, young Master Qian's eyes flickered and swept across the stall. Soon, the corners of his mouth curled up and he grabbed a stone in his hand. "Young masters, this old man is running a small business. Can the two of you settle the bill first?" The old man at the stall said. He was really a little worried that the two of them would cut the stone and not pay. "It's just a few crystals. Do you think I'll shortchange you?" Young Master Qian's face was full of disdain. Then he tossed 1.5 kilograms of crystals to the other party. Then he looked at Lin Xian and sneered. "Brat, don't tell me you can't even afford 1.5 kilograms of crystals? If that's the case, I advise you to kneel down and kowtow as soon as possible." "Idiot." Lin Xian sneered. With a flick of his finger he also tossed 1.5 kilograms of crystals. Young Master Qian's face darkened when he saw this scene. He realized that the other party's casual attitude was really infuriating. Meanwhile, the surrounding crowd was indeed a little nervous. That was because it was the most critical time to cut the stone. The most exciting part of stone gambling was when the stone was cut. With one cut, one could rise to the heavens and become rich, or one could completely lose money and go bankrupt. Therefore, that was indeed the most exciting part. Chapter 1919. Crack, crack, crack. He was very careful. Red light bloomed in his eyes, and the golden knife in his hand was as steady as a rock as he slowly lowered it. Then, the surface of the stone slowly peeled off, and the stone in his hand became smaller and smaller. Buzz. At this moment, a bright light suddenly lit up like a rainbow, illuminating the surroundings. Seeing this, young Master Qian heaved a sigh of relief, while the surrounding crowd exclaimed, "There's a glow. It seems that there must be a crystal, but I wonder how much?" He bought the stone with 1.5 kilograms of crystal. If he can't cut it into 1.5 kilograms, he'll lose money. Looking at the colorful luster, it should be more than 5 kilograms. Discussions broke out one after another as they paid even more attention to the situation. Young Master Chen became more and more careful. In the end, the entire surface of the stone was peeled off and 5 kilograms of crystal appeared on the ground. 5 kilograms. He's profited. Yeah, not bad. This young Master Chen is really something. Most of these stones are useless, but I didn't expect young Master Chen to be able to cut out 5 kilograms of crystal. It was indeed shocking. Everyone was discussing and their words were filled with envy. Indeed, 9 out of 10 people who set up stalls here were scammers. Most of the stones were useless, so most people would not cut them. They would wait until the stone gambling convention officially began the next day before cutting. However, young Master Chen was not only bold but he also cut out 5 kilograms of crystal, which shocked the surrounding crowd. Young Master Chen was even more proud. He looked at Lin Shen provocatively, then sneered. Kid, you're dead meat. I advise you not to cut it. I've seen your stone. It's just a useless stone. There's nothing in it. As soon as he said that, the surrounding crowd exclaimed again. Yeah, that stone is dim and ugly. I don't think there's anything in it. I think so too. I think that kid is going to lose. Even the old man who sold the stone shook his head and sighed. Obviously, he also thought that it was a useless stone. Young master, do you want me to do it? At this moment, old Monster Dugu also spoke. He felt that if Lin Shen lost, he might as well not cut it. Now that he was using absolute power to intimidate them, the people around him would definitely not dare to say anything. However, Lin Shen was very calm. He said, there is definitely a treasure in this stone. It's just that they don't know what it is. There was a treasure? Young Master Chen sneered, you're really naive. If there's a treasure in this stone, I'll eat all the stone skins on the ground. He didn't believe that the other party's stone would contain a treasure. That's what you said. The dark red dragon god became spirited and said loudly, everyone heard it. This guy is going to eat the stone skin in a while. If he doesn't eat it, then he's a bastard. Young Master Chen was so angry that his face turned black. But soon he sneered and said, I want to see what kind of stone you can cut out. Lin Shen didn't care at all. Using his finger as a blade, he slashed down. Seeing this, the surrounding people were even more incredulous. Young Master Chen sneered, look at your technique. Do you think you are cutting a watermelon? Even if there is something good, it will be cut into pieces by you. However, as soon as he said that, his entire body froze. The smile on his face also became very ugly because an extremely bright light burst out from the crack. It was like a rainbow circling in the sky. What a bright light. There really are crystals in here. Oh God, I'm not dreaming, am I? This kid's luck is too good. He randomly picked a stone and there are crystals in it. You have to know that most of the stones here are useless. Everyone was discussing, but most of them thought that it was Lin Shen's luck that was good. Even old Monster Dugu was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Shen to really cut out a crystal. Young Master Chen's face was also extremely ugly, as if he had eaten a dead fly. He gritted his teeth and said, impossible. How can this kid be so lucky? I don't believe that he can cut out more crystals than me. In front, Lin Shen waved his hand quickly, and the stone skins on the ground kept falling. Then, a crystal of about 5 kilograms appeared in front of everyone. 5 kilograms. He's definitely rich. Everyone's eyes were burning because crystals were essential for the cultivation of a king. However, most of these people didn't have much. They didn't expect that the young man in front of them could casually cut out 5 kilograms. This was definitely enviable. This kid can't be a seeker spirit master, right? Otherwise, how could he be so powerful? It's possible. Look at his expression, he's always so calm. Damn, he can't be guessing, right? But his luck is too heaven-defying. When young Master Chen saw this, his face became extremely ugly. His entire body became ferocious as he roared crazily, impossible, damn it, this is impossible. How could he cut out so many crystals? Damn it, are you all well dressed? In the next moment, young Master Chen looked at the old man selling the stones, and a strong killing intent appeared in his eyes. He even suspected that this was a trap set up for him. This scene caused everyone to be shocked. The dark red dragon sneered and walked up. He stared at young Master Chen and sneered. Are you still so arrogant? Hurry up and eat all the stone skins on the ground, then kneel down and kowtow to us to apologize. The surrounding people were shocked. They didn't expect this to happen. Young Master Chen's face was even uglier, as if he had eaten a dead rat. Hearing the other party's words, he wanted to die even more. Previously, he was extremely arrogant and offered such conditions because he was very confident in himself. He believed that he would definitely not lose, but now he had lost. This surprised him greatly. Damn it, I don't believe it. You cheated. You must have colluded. Humph, aren't you just trying to deceive me? I won't fall for it. Young Master Chen snorted coldly and turned to leave. Regardless of whether the other party had colluded or not, he wouldn't stay here because it was too embarrassing. You want to leave? It's not that simple. The dark red dragon's body swayed and immediately blocked his way. At this moment he had turned into a flaming horse, bathed in flames. He was like an ancient divine beast standing in front of him. You're courting death. How dare you block my young master's path? Do you know who my young master is? Let me tell you, our old master is an elder of the Yangyun sect. If you offend us, we'll slap you to death. Is that so? The elder is very arrogant. But so what? We didn't force him to say those conditions earlier. He was the one who said them himself. Chapter 1920. Is that so? The elder is so arrogant. But so what? We didn't force him to say those conditions earlier. He was the one who said them himself. Now that he has lost, he wants to go back on his word. How can there be such a thing in this world? Indeed, the surrounding martial artists were in a heated discussion. That's right. He went back on his word and is the child of the Yangyun sect's elder. That's too untrustworthy. Has the Yangyun sect fallen to such a state? The hearts of the people are not what they used to be. They don't even want to honor the agreement. Discussions broke out. Obviously, the crowd was very dissatisfied. After all, they had seen what had happened previously. Young Master Chen had been so arrogant. If Lin Xian had been the one who had lost, young Master Chen would not have let him off. Get lost. Young Master Chen's face was cold. He would not honor his promise. He would rather kill him than kowtow and admit his guilt. His servant also had a fierce look on his face. Then the power in his body exploded. A long blue saber appeared in his hand. It was as cold as ice as it slashed forward. Damn beast. How dare you block my young master's path? The long blue saber in the sky turned into a stream of light and slashed at the dark red divine dragon. Wherever it passed, layers of blue frost would form, causing the surrounding temperature to drop rapidly. Oh my, how dare you attack me? You really don't know your place. The dark red divine dragon sneered when he saw this. He lifted his two front hooves and stomped forward. Bang bang. Two deep sounds were heard. The long blue saber in the sky was instantly broken into two. The servant's chest caved in as he was sent flying. Damn it. How dare you retaliate? Young Master Chen's face was extremely hideous when he saw this. He did not expect that the other party would dare to retaliate. Die, you bastard. He was furious. He was really furious. He struck out with both palms. Two balls of white mist appeared in his hands. They were like two clouds that were extremely ethereal. Then he slammed his palms forward. Firmament palm. Yangyun sect's ultimate skill was displayed at this moment. It was as if endless clouds were rolling and a terrifying gale engulfed everything. The dark red divine dragon sneered disdainfully because young Master Chen was only a 6-star king. Such a person was not enough for him. Therefore he waved his shoelaces again. The fiery red light and the vast power of the shoelaces were like a red mountain as they blasted forward. The clouds churned and were directly torn apart. The red hoof directly kicked young Master Chen. Clang. At the critical moment, a white armor appeared on young Master Chen's body and blocked this shocking attack. However, his body continued to retreat, causing the ground to crack. How is this possible? How can a beast be so strong? Young Master Chen's face was filled with shock. He was a 6-star king realm and he had even used the firmament palm strike. Yet he was still unable to do anything to his opponent. He couldn't believe it. However, he knew that the other party might be a mutated species of heaven and earth, a powerful demon king. Therefore he changed his strategy. He turned around and stared at Lin Xian. Kid, go to hell. He directly charged towards Lin Xian. This was because he didn't sense any terrifying aura from Lin Xian. Therefore he felt that the other party wasn't powerful at all. Whoosh. Countless white clouds surged out of young Master Chen's body, causing his figure to become ethereal. In an instant he turned into a ghost and disappeared into the air. Cloud misstep. What a terrifying step technique. Young Master Qian's skills are indeed extraordinary. The surrounding crowd exclaimed because they could no longer see young Master Qian's figure. Lin Xian was very calm because he didn't need to do anything at all. At this moment, old Monster Dugu, who was beside him, snorted coldly and stood in front of Lin Xian. Then he slapped out. Boom. A terrifying palm descended from the sky, and the surrounding space instantly froze. Everyone felt their bodies tighten as if a pair of demonic claws had grabbed their throats, and they couldn't breathe. In the void, young Master Qian's figure also appeared. His face was full of shock and confusion. He couldn't believe that the other party had easily broken through his step technique. Damn it, how is this possible? Who is he? How can he be so powerful? Young Master Qian stared at the black-clothed old man in shock. His scalp went numb and he wanted to escape, because he couldn't see the other party's true strength at all. Old Monster Dugu sneered and grabbed with his hand. Like a demon king, he directly enveloped young Master Qian. Then, as if he was carrying a chicken, he brought young Master Qian to his side. Bang! He kicked young Master Qian's leg, and young Master Qian immediately knelt on the ground in the direction of Lin Xian. Damn it, you dare to make me kneel? You're dead meat. My father is an elder of the Yan Yun sect. So what? What does it have to do with me? Old Monster Dugu sneered. He didn't care about the elder of the Yan Yun sect. Because even if he caused a huge disaster, he could find a barren mountain and hide for 8 to 10 years, and the other party wouldn't be able to find him. Young Master Qian roared angrily. He realized that this kind of threat was useless. Therefore he had to rely on himself. In his body, the cloud-like mist exploded again, turning into a large white palm. It soared into the sky from his body and slapped towards old Monster Dugu. It's useless. Don't struggle. Old Monster Dugu pointed with his finger and directly pierced the large white palm. Then he sealed all the spiritual energy in young Master Qian's body. Then he stepped on the other party's head and made him kowtow. A gentleman never goes back on his word. Since you said such an agreement, you have to accept the punishment if you lose. Old Monster Dugu said coldly. He had already kowtowed. Next it was time to eat the stone skin. With a flip of his palm, the stone skin on the ground quickly spun and surged towards his palm. It turned into a ball. No, you can't do this to me. Young Master Qian's expression was incomparably ugly. He had already kowtowed in front of the other party and had lost face. But he didn't expect that the other party would make him eat the stone skin. This was even worse than killing him. However, he couldn't resist at all and could only be forced to swallow the stone skin. What? You really kowtowed and ate it? The surrounding people were shocked. They didn't expect the black-clothed old man to be so powerful that he even dared to provoke the Yan Yun sect. Who are they? Aren't they too strong? Who knows? They must be fierce people. But I don't think the Yan Yun sect will let this go. Young Master Qian's eyes were red and filled with killing intent. He was like a crazy beast. He stared fiercely at Lin Xian and the black-clothed old man. He gritted his teeth and roared, "Damn it, just you wait. I will definitely not let you off. When my father comes, I will kill all of you and tear you into pieces." Scram. Old Monster Dugu waved his sleeve and sent young Master Qian flying. Chapter 1921. Get lost. Old Monster Dugu waved his sleeve and sent young Master Qian flying. Let's go too. Lin Xian said in a deep voice. He looked around and found that there were no good stones here. At most, there would be a few kilograms of crystals, which was nothing to him. Therefore, it was better to wait for the stone gambling convention to officially begin tomorrow. Soon the night passed. The next day, when the sun had just risen, everyone in the Dragon Transformation Lake was excited. Because today was the beginning of the stone gambling convention. A group of 5 great sage guards appeared in front of them. They were going to check everyone's invitations. Anyone without an invitation would be asked to leave. Lin Xian followed behind the crowd and waited quietly. However, when it was his turn, one of the guards said coldly, "Your pet can't be brought in." Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. Because he clearly saw that many people had brought their pets in before, and they were not stopped. However, he was stopped. It was obvious that there was a conspiracy. He spread out his soul power and found that young Master Qian from yesterday was hiding in the dark and sneering. It seemed that he was the one behind it. This time, the dark red divine dragon was also angry. He said coldly, "You're the pet. I'll kick you to death." He was too angry. The other party actually called him a pet. It was unforgivable. Lin Xian said in a deep voice, "Those people in front can go in. Why can't we? Are you deliberately looking for trouble? Impudent." The guard shouted coldly, "Kid, don't you know where you are? How dare you question us? We have the final say here. If we say you can't go in, you can't go in. Is that so?" Lin Xian snorted and golden runes flashed in his eyes. Bus. Suddenly the arrogant guard trembled, and a hint of fear appeared in his eyes. Then it turned into a dull look. "Can I go in now?" Lin Xian asked indifferently. "Yes, please come in, young master," the guard said respectfully. Then he bowed and said, "I have offended you before. Please don't blame me." Seeing this scene, the surrounding guards were all stunned. Young Master Qian, who was hiding in the shadows, was even more stunned, as if he had seen a ghost. This shouldn't be the case. This was completely different from what he had expected. How could the other party admit defeat? He stood rooted to the ground. On the other side, Lin Xian, the dark red divine dragon, and old monster Dugu strode forward. Finally, they arrived at the stone gambling convention. In front of him was a jade-green lake that emitted a dense spiritual energy, forming a faint mist on the surface. Around the dragon transformation lake, there were many exquisite stalls with all kinds of stones placed there. There were all kinds of colors and shapes. Looking from afar, there was a sea of people and strange rocks all over the place. It could really be called a flourishing age. Not only that, but Lin Xian could also see almighty-level existences everywhere. There were even some people who were even more terrifying. They had white hair and were old, but the aura in their bodies was extremely terrifying, even surpassing that of the Almighties. Lin Xian knew that those people were living fossils. He did not expect that the stone gambling convention would attract so many experts. This time, even old monster Dugu restrained his temper. Although he was usually very arrogant in front of so many Almighties and living fossils, he really had no right to be arrogant. Although there were many Almighties compared to the sea of martial artists, they were still sparse and pitiful. Therefore, under normal circumstances, they would not encounter any Almighties. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and looked around. Then he walked towards a shop. As soon as he approached, he heard the crowd discussing, "This shop is not ordinary. I heard that the stones here were all obtained from the Black Wind Mine." Black Wind Mine? No way, that's a very famous mine. It said that it has something to do with the Primordium Ancient Mine, and it's very close. What do you know? This Black Wind Mine was very famous in the past, but it's almost gone in recent years. At this moment, a young man said coldly, "What nonsense are you talking about? How can it be gone? We've all heard of the Black Wind Mine." "Yeah, don't you know? Don't talk nonsense here." The others were dissatisfied while the young man snorted coldly. He revealed a jade pendant at his waist. An azure dragon was engraved on it. Seeing this jade pendant, many people cried out in surprise, "Ouyang family." "What? He's from the Ouyang family?" Everyone was shocked and did not dare to speak anymore. The Ouyang family was a seeker family. The people who came out of it were definitely incomparably terrifying. Since he said so, it might be true. However, there were still people who did not give up. After all, the Black Wind Mine was too famous. It was close to the Primordium Mine, and many treasures had been cut out from the stones of the Black Wind Mine. Therefore, it caused everyone's hearts to burn. As for the young man from the Ouyang family, he snorted coldly, turned around and left. Black Wind Mine? Lin Xian was puzzled. Is it very famous? To be honest, although his ocular technique was unparalleled, his understanding of these mine veins was indeed inferior to other martial artists. Apart from the very famous Life Forbidden Zone, the Primordium Ancient Mine, he had never heard of any other mine veins. Not to mention the Black Wind Mine. Although Lin Xian whispered, it was still heard by the surrounding martial artists. Following that, those people turned around and looked at Lin Xian in surprise. "Damn brother, it can't be, where did you come from? You haven't even heard of the Black Point Mine? Heavens, are you sure you're here to gamble on stones?" Moreover, some people did not believe that there was someone in this world who did not know about the Black Wind Mine. Not to mention these people, even old Monster Dugu at the side was also extremely surprised. Previously, he saw Lin Xian easily cut out more than 10 caddies of crystal stones, which shocked him. In his opinion, Lin Xian must have mastered some kind of powerful spirit-seeking technique to be able to find strange stones so easily. But now he was puzzled again. Because the other party's knowledge was too limited. He did not even know about the Black Wind Mine. Was he really a spirit-seeking master? He was very doubtful. Seeing everyone's doubts, Su Chen was speechless, so he lied, I just came out of the mountains so I don't know what's going on outside. This time I saw that there was a commotion so I came to take a look. So that's how it is. Everyone came to a realization and then said enthusiastically, "Brother, let me tell you, the Black Wind Mine is very famous. It's close to the Primordium ancient mine. In the past, treasures were often cut out. For example, divine crystals, ancient spiritual herbs, and the remains of ancient weapons. In short, there are many such rare treasures." Chapter 1922. So that's how it is. After Lin Xian heard this, he finally understood. Since the black wind or vein was so famous, he would play with it. Thinking of this, he did not go anywhere else. Instead, he stood there and watched. His eyes flickered as he looked forward. He skimmed over the stones in front of him one by one. These stones were of different sizes. Some were yellow, some were black, and some were brown. Moreover, some of the stones had a crack in the middle, but it was not deep. Some people even picked up such stones and shone the cracks under the sun, but they could not see the situation inside at all. The eyes of a few experts in the surroundings flickered like divine rainbows. They stared at these stones, trying to see the situation inside clearly. However, these stones were all transported from our veins, and those veins had been buried underground for tens of thousands of years. They contained divine power. Ordinary probing would not be able to see clearly, unless there were some very magical eye techniques or methods. For example, a seeker spirit master or gambling with luck. However, there were times when a seeker spirit master would make a mistake, and it was even more difficult to say if one relied on luck. Each of the stones here was very expensive. If there was nothing inside after a cut, it would be a huge loss. Ordinary kings would not be able to afford it. The stall owner was a middle-aged man in a red robe. He looked at the increasing crowd around him and said loudly, "Everyone, I'm sure you know the rules of stone gambling. High revenge also means high risk. If any of you take a fancy to any stone, then buy it. There might be divine crystals inside. Of course, if you can't cut it out, don't complain. That's how stone gambling is." Hearing this, everyone nodded and discussed from time to time. Indeed, they also knew about these things, so they were exceptionally solemn. After all, the price of these stones was not low. At this moment, Lin Xian walked through the crowd and came to the front. He looked at the stones and asked in a deep voice, "Boss, how much are you selling these stones?" "The ones with openings are 80 kilograms of crystals. The ones without openings are 50 kilograms of crystals." Lin Xian nodded, indicating that he understood. Then his eyes flickered and runes flickered. He stared at a stone that was half a meter tall. Through the heavenly secret divine eyes, he saw the scene inside the stone. There were indeed crystals inside, but they were not in the center. Instead, they were in the bottom left corner. The crystals were light green in color. There was one at the bottom left corner and one at the top right corner. In total, the two of them were the size of a rubber ball. Judging from the quality and quantity of these crystals, they definitely exceeded 50 kilograms of ordinary crystals. Therefore, it was not a loss to buy them. Lin Xian decided to buy it to increase his capital. 50 kilograms of crystal stones. I want this stone. Lin Xian pointed at one of the stones and said. The middle-aged boss nodded and said with a smile, "Sir, you can buy it, but there are rules here. If someone offers a higher price to buy this stone within the stipulated time, then the final owner will be the person who offers the highest price. Of course, you can also raise the price." "There's such a thing?" Lin Xian stared blankly for a moment before asking eccentric Dugu. Old monster Dugu said, "There is indeed such a rule, but it has to be done within half an incense stick's time." After Lin Xian heard this, he understood. Since that was the case, he would also follow the rules. Seeing that Lin Xian was the first to choose a stone so quickly, the surrounding people began to discuss spiritedly. "So fast? Isn't it a little sloppy? I didn't see him use any strange spirit-seeking technique. Could it be that he's dreaming and wants to try his luck? He looks so familiar. I've seen him before. Right, it's him. Yesterday he competed with the people of Swallow Cloud sect and got 10 kilograms of crystal stones. At that time he quickly chose a stone. Everyone thought it was a waste stone. Who would have thought that he would get 10 kilograms of crystal stones? What? There's such a thing. The surrounding people were shocked as they looked at Lin Xian in confusion. However, they still did not believe it. After all, 50 kilograms of crystal stones was not a small amount, so they all watched. However, at this moment, a middle-aged man in a green robe walked over. The middle-aged man's face was pale, but his eyes were very spirited. His fingers were very wide, and he wore a black plate on his thumb that emitted a mysterious power and a faint light. The middle-aged man in a green robe came to the front of the stall and looked carefully. Soon he stared at the stone that Lin Xian had chosen. The next moment he stretched out his finger and touched the stone. The black ring flashed with strange runes. The middle-aged man in a green robe frowned, and his eyes were shining. After a while he pulled back his palm. The stall owner said, "Fellow cultivator, this young master has already bid for 50 kilograms of crystal stones. If you want it, the price must be higher than that." Hearing that, the middle-aged man in a green robe glanced at Lin Xian and said in a deep voice, "I'll bid 150 kilograms of crystal stones." 150 kilograms. The crowd exclaimed. They did not expect the middle-aged man in a green robe to bid such a high price. Lin Xian was also surprised. Did the middle-aged man also notice the crystal stones? However, although he was surprised, he quickly calmed down. After all, many experts from the eastern wilderness had gathered at the stone gambling convention. If he could see it, the other experts could naturally see it too. However, there was no need for him to buy the 150 kilograms of crystal stones, because even if he bought it, he would not earn much. Therefore, he shook his head and did not raise the price again. After waiting for a while and seeing that no one else was bidding, the stall owner said, "Fellow cultivator, this stone is yours." The middle-aged man in a green robe gave the crystal stones, took the half-meter-tall stone and nodded slightly. He did not leave. Instead, he cut the stone on the spot. Seeing that someone was cutting the stone in public, the surrounding people immediately exclaimed and were extremely excited. After all, compared to buying the stone, cutting the stone was more exciting. Someone is cutting the stone in public. When the surrounding people saw that, they quickly gathered. Very quickly the stall was packed to the brim. The middle-aged man in a green robe looked serious. His eyes flickered as he looked at the stone in front of him. Then he pulled out a small black knife. The small knife was very simple. It was neither gold nor stone. No one knew what material it was made of. At this moment, the middle-aged man in a green robe held it in his hand. The surrounding people also held their breaths. They knew that no one could disturb him at this time. Whoosh! The middle-aged man in a green robe cut the stone from the middle. He cut it very carefully. Soon he had to stop and watch. However, when he cut 1/3 of the stone, there was no light. Chapter 1923. Not necessarily. What's the rush? It's only 1/3 of the way through. Usually, things will be in the center. It's still early. If it's in the center, doesn't that mean that even if it's a treasure, it's very small? Could it be that it's a loss? What do you know? Someone sneered. Treasures aren't judged by their size. A divine crystal the size of a fingernail or 50 kilograms of ordinary crystals. Which one do you choose? Hearing this, many people stopped talking. Even if it was a divine crystal the size of a fingernail, its value and energy were definitely incomparable to ordinary crystals. Legend had it that divine crystals contained mysterious power and were extremely mysterious. The green-robed middle-aged man naturally knew this, so even if there was no light after 1/3 of the way through, he could still remain calm. His palm was very steady as he slowly cut off the stone's skin. However, the green-robed middle-aged man soon broke out in a cold sweat, and even his expression became very ugly. That was because he had already cut half of the way through, but there was still no light. This meant that he might have misjudged and this stone might be a useless stone. Not only him but the surrounding people also began to discuss. It's already halfway through and there's still no light. This time it should be a useless stone. Those who believed firmly before were also shaken because, under normal circumstances, treasures would be in the center of the stone. However, now that there was no light, it meant that there was no treasure. At this moment, they could no longer find a reason to think that the stone in front of them was a treasure. Lin Xian's expression was calm. He knew that there was definitely a crystal in this stone, but the other party had cut it in the wrong place. However, at this moment another person spoke. It was an old man with gray hair and a hooked nose. He gave off a gloomy and cold feeling. He said in a deep voice, "Fellow cultivator, it's already halfway. Do you still want to cut it? If you don't want to continue, I'll buy this stone for 15 kilograms of crystals. What do you think?" Hearing this, the surrounding people were in an uproar. It was already a useless stone, but someone still wanted to buy it. Could it be that there was something fishy about this stone? For a moment, many people were tempted. However, the gray-haired old man just snorted coldly, and an extremely powerful aura surged from his body, intimidating everyone. Feeling this terrifying aura, many people shut their mouths. As for the gray-haired old man, he looked to the front and asked, "What do you think?" The green-robed middle-aged man pondered for a moment and then shook his head. "No need, I'll continue." To be honest, he was very confident in his spirit-seeking technique. He clearly felt that this stone contained a huge amount of spiritual power. There must be a treasure inside, but why couldn't it be cut out? Moreover, he had only cut half of it. He had seen some treasures under the stones before. Therefore, he would not give up or admit defeat until the very last moment. Seeing that the other party was still persisting, the gray-haired elder harumphed coldly before retreating back into the crowd. The middle-aged man with the green bump waved his arm again. The black dagger seemed to have turned into a poisonous snake, swallowing and spitting out light as it continued to cut the stone. Crack crack. In the end, the half-meter-tall rock was cut in half, but no crystal appeared. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. After all, he had spent 150 kilograms of crystal stones to buy this stone. Now that he had nothing to cut out, he was naturally losing money. The gray-haired old man sneered with a hint of schadenfreude. "Impossible, my senses can't be wrong. There must be a crystal stone inside." The green-robed man could not accept this situation. Then he waved the dagger in his hand and two black rays of light shot out. Like the Styx River, they slashed towards the stone. Once again, the stone that had been cut in half was cut into 4 halves. However, there was still nothing to be seen. Seeing this, his expression was very ugly. He did not expect that he would make a mistake on his first try. This was not good news for him. Old Man Gudu heaved a sigh of relief because this thing was originally bought by Lin Xian. Fortunately, it was snatched away by someone else. Otherwise, if Lin Xian bought it, he would definitely waste 50 kilograms of crystal stones. The dark red dragon was also surprised. He knew Lin Xian's strength, but he did not expect that there was nothing inside. Therefore he asked, "Kid, what's going on? Did you make a mistake too?" Lin Xian shook his head slightly. "I didn't make a mistake. There are indeed crystals inside and there are quite a lot of them. However, he cut in the wrong place. The crystals are in the lower left and upper right corner. He didn't touch those 2 places at all." "I see." The dark red dragon understood. It turned out that the green-robed middle-aged man was quite pitiful. However, at that moment Lin Xian spoke up. "Fellow Taoist, I'll pay you 10 nephrite crystals for these rocks. Are you willing to sell them to me?" "What? Someone else made a bid?" Hearing this, everyone was stunned and revealed a look of disbelief. "These are useless stones. The ones underground are even more worthless. Why would someone buy them? Is there something wrong with his brain? Or is he too rich and has nowhere to spend it? It's that kid again. He wanted to buy this stone before, but he didn't get it. Now he wants the fragments of those useless stones. What is he trying to do? Who knows? He's probably a rich second-generation heir. He has a lot of crystals and can spend them however he wants." Discussions broke out one after another. However, everyone thought that Lin Xian must be out of his mind to buy a piece of scrap rock that had been cut off. In the crowd, even the gray-haired old man from before sneered. Previously he thought that the stone might still contain treasures, but now that it had been cut in half, how could there be any treasures? Now that someone had made a bid, it was purely a waste of crystals. The green-robed middle-aged man was also surprised, but he still nodded and agreed. After all, if he could get back 10 caddies of crystals, it would be less of a loss. Seeing that the other party had agreed, Lin Xian ignored the other's words and gave the other party 10 crystals. Then, he waved his hand and put away the 4 pieces of gravel on the ground. He really bought it? No way, is he out of his mind? Who knows? Ignore this kid. He's probably a hothead who doesn't know anything. Everyone shook their heads and ignored him. Instead, they looked at the other stones. Lin Xian, on the other hand, was very satisfied. These people actually dared to mock him. What idiots! This time he had made a huge bargain. The crystals inside were about 75 to 60 caddies, so he was willing to buy the 100 caddies. However, he wouldn't buy the 150 caddies. That was because there was no profit to be made. Now, however, he had only spent 10 caddies of crystals and bought 150 to 10 caddies of crystals. Among them, he had earned more than 140 caddies of crystals for free. Chapter 1924. However, old Monster Duga didn't know. He felt that Lin Xian really had nowhere to spend his money. He actually bought useless stones. The dark red dragon was happy. This feeling of making a fortune silently was simply awesome. However, hearing the sneers and ridicule of the people around him, the dark red dragon was very unhappy. He pulled Lin Xian and said, "Kid, why don't you cut it here? I want to see what kind of expressions they will have after you cut it out." All right. Being ridiculed by so many people, Lin Xian was also unhappy in his heart, so he planned to cut the stones on the side. Oh my god, it's real. At the side, the corner of old monster Dugu's mouth twitched. Previously, when he bought these 4 broken stones, he had already been ridiculed for a long time. Now, this young master in front of him was actually going to cut the stones in front of everyone. And it was 4 pieces of useless stones. Wasn't this deliberately looking for a joke? Old monster Dugu had a feeling of wanting to run away. He couldn't afford to lose this old face. "I say, old man, what's with your expression? You don't believe us, do you?" When the dark red dragon saw old monster Dugu's expression, he was immediately unhappy. He leaned over and said, "Yes, what, do you think it's embarrassing? Don't worry, this kid's strength is far beyond your imagination. Just wait, when the time comes, the ones who will be dumbfounded will be them." Hearing this, old monster Dugu rolled his eyes. He didn't believe such words, so he used his mana. Immediately, a purple mist formed a mask on his face, revealing only his 2 eyes. It was best for him to cover his face now so that he wouldn't embarrass himself when the time came. On the other side, Lin Xian was preparing to cut the stones. His fingers were like knives, and a resplendent light appeared on his palm, turning into a sharp blade. This light naturally attracted the attention of others. Immediately, the people who were originally surrounding the stall turned their heads one after another. When they saw that Lin Xian was actually going to cut those useless stones one by one, they began to discuss. "Look, this kid is really going to cut these useless stones. No, he might as well find a random stone in the mountains to cut these things. I reckon that's better than this." Young people nowadays don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. They think that they can cut out a treasure from a piece of rock. That brat is probably going to cry in a while. We have to watch the show. Many people sneered and turned their heads to stare at Lin Xian. They decided to watch the show. Lin Xian coldly snorted. He used his fingers as a blade and chopped down with lightning speed. Whoosh, whoosh. Lin Xian attacked ruthlessly and decisively. His fingers moved like a swimming dragon. Light flickered and shattered rocks fell from the sky. What the hell, so fast? What does he want? Is he cutting the rock, or is he planning to cut the rock into pieces? When those people saw this scene, they were even more stunned. "Big brother, are you here to show off your stone-cutting skills?" That must be it. It's definitely not for the sake of cutting the stone. However, some of the old men sneered. There can't be anything good inside. He's just showing off. He might as well cut it and see if it's practical. If he can cut out a crystal, I'll eat all of these rocks. Bus. However, at that moment, Lin Xian chopped down again. Immediately, a green light flashed and rushed in all directions. A ray of light came out from the waste rock. The rich aura was intoxicating, and the spiritual power in their bodies was mobilized. The green light seemed to be jade green, and it carried a faint glow that enveloped the surroundings. Everyone was extremely shocked and could not believe it. A crystal was dug out from a waste rock, and it seemed to be of good quality. Heavens, how is that possible? That's a waste rock. How could there be something inside? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Hit me twice and see if I'm dreaming. Damn it, this kid's luck is too good, isn't it? He just randomly picked up 2 stones and he was able to cut out a crystal? His luck is too good. Exclamations could be heard. Soon, the surrounding warriors looked over. The green-robed middle-aged man and the gray-robed old man in the crowd were even more shocked when they saw this scene. Especially the green-robed middle-aged man. His face was really green this time. He thought about how he had been cutting for such a long time and did not find a single crystal. But now the other party had cut out 2 pieces of waste rock and found a crystal. This was a slap to his face. Everyone held their breaths and watched quietly. Lin Xian's speed was getting faster and faster. Soon, a semicircular crystal appeared in front of everyone. It was half the size of a soccer ball. The emerald green light shone like a top-grade jade. Damn, it's such a big piece. How much did this kid spend to buy it? This piece must be 70 to 80 kilograms, right? This kid spent 10 crystals to buy it, but he actually cut out 70 to 80 kilograms of crystal. Damn, that's simply heaven-defying. God, this kid might be a Seeker Spirit Master. How could that be? He must be a Seeker Spirit Master. Otherwise, how could he cut out such a crystal from waste rock? Everyone was discussing animatedly and there was an uproar. The gray-robed old man also had a face full of regret. Why didn't he buy it back then? If he had bought it, these crystals would be his now. The green-robed middle-aged man's breathing was even more rapid. That was waste rock. A piece of waste rock could produce 70 to 80 kilograms of crystal. He had spent 150 kilograms of crystal, but he didn't even get a single crystal. Wasn't this gap a little too big? The dark red divine dragon snorted coldly. This was nothing. There was still one more piece that hadn't been cut out. Let's see if you can still mock me when I cut out another 70 to 80 kilograms. He was extremely proud now. He thought about how these people had mocked him and thought that he was an idiot. But now, feeling these people's amazed and admiring gazes, the dark red divine dragon was in a good mood. Beside him, old Monster Dugu's eyes widened in disbelief. What the hell was going on? How could he cut out so many crystals from a piece of waste rock? Pa, he slapped his own face. Old man, how boring is it to slap yourself in the face? Do you want me to slap you? The dark red divine dragon walked over. No, there's no need. I believe it's true. I believe it, okay? Old Monster Dugu wanted to cry but had no tears. He realized that the young man in front of him was simply a monster. Soon, Lin Xian's second crystal was cut out. It was another 70 to 80 kilograms of crystal. The two of them together weighed a total of 150 to 60 kilograms. This result made everyone go crazy. The green-robed middle-aged man spat out a large mouthful of blood. This was due to anger. He had spent 150 kilograms of crystal, but he didn't get a single crystal. The other party only spent 10 kilograms of crystal, but he got 150 kilograms. The organization earned more than 140 kilograms. What kind of method was this? Perhaps even powerful Seeker Spirit Master families like the Ouyang family and the Tuoba family might not be able to do it, right? Heavens, who was this kid? Which family was he from? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.